Hey, welcome back to another episode of the Racin with Ryan podcast, episode 101. I feel like we're starting over again. We kind of are. Joining me in studio for this episode, glad to have a good friend of mine, Mr. Tom Stout from Speedway Video. How's it going, co-host?
How's it going? Yeah, it's convenient that it's just a short trip over to your place. Glad I could fill in.
Well, it was kind of a last-minute deal. Kenny's busy doing some stuff here this week, so he wasn't able to make it in, and I'm glad you were able to come in. I thought about, I'll just do a quick episode this week and just record after I get the baby to bed, and I decided to text you and see if you were available first, because sometimes it's just more fun to throw ideas around and bounce off each other, so I appreciate you coming in, and we've got you a microphone stand for the first time. So.
I get a stand.
You got a stand.
Every other time I come in, I've got to bum it by holding my own microphone.
Right.
I mean, come on.
Such a professional operation.
-5 stars.
Well, listen, there are a few people that would rate us -5 stars. And just to touch on that real quick, like perfect segue, appreciate CJ Creech coming up and chatting with me the other day in the pits. There are some things, some stories that we talked about the last couple of weeks that, involved his team and wasn't the best look, and he's like, I didn't like it. I appreciate you, doing what you had to do, but I appreciate him. And here's the thing: not everybody has to like what we talk about on the show, but I like that even though he didn't like it, he came up to me and was just like, I get it. You have a show to do. Thanks for, I guess covering all the sides of it and everything. But I just like the fact that he came up to me. We had a civil conversation about it, and we're able to shake hands, and it's all good. Because the fact of the matter is, on this show, sometimes I'm going to give an opinion that someone is not going to agree with. Sometimes I'm going to have a story that's, not the best look for somebody. I'm not doing it to, and I think you know this, Tom, I'm not doing it to piss people off. I'm just talking about the things that happen. And sometimes I get sources from this person, and I get it from this person, and things are different. So, anywho, I just appreciate when someone can civilly come up and have a conversation with me, and we can shake hands at the end of the deal. So I think that can put all of that stuff to rest, and we can move on and talk about what was a wild week in the motorsports world. We got Sunbelt Series race number 3 in. It's officially in the books at New Smyrna. Kind of a wild, wacky, and wet night, unfortunately. So we'll talk about all of that. We have coverage from the road course, the NASCAR race in Sonoma. And on the third segment, we will go around the state. We do have some tracks to catch up on here this week. We have fantasy stuff. Thunder Road was in action. So all the stuff that Tom is super looking forward to at the end of
There's some of it that I am. There's some I pay enough attention now that some of it I'll understand.
Well, what I like is that you will listen to the show and you tell me like this is how you keep up with what's going on.
Yeah.
So whether it's listening for a specific reason or not, at least you get some value out of this thing because you can keep up with.
How nice I'm going to be to you every Saturday is based on the tally marks that I take of how many times you mention Speedway Video.
Exactly.
That's why I'm listening. Yeah.
Well, I gotta keep my name on that Patreon list on the side of the videos one way or another because eventually the rides will run out and I won't have any other collateral. So, oh man. But yeah, what a week. Coming off a show celebrating 100 episodes. I know we didn't have a lot to talk about last week, but we made a hell of a show. It's funny. I had to cut a story out and then I had to upload the show to a website that compressed the audio even more to get the file to fit. Because I ran into my first real issue on my hosting site and had to, smush the file down to even get the episode uploaded. So last week, even though there wasn't a lot, we ended up, I don't know about you, but I had a great time last week.
Oh, it was a lot of fun. And I'm not going to say what story it was, but what cracks me up about the story that you cut is that it's about something that we were going to put on our YouTube channel, but then the footage that we got of it didn't work out really. So I never put it up on our YouTube channel. And so now twice we've tried to tell the story, and it's ended up getting cut.
We'll save it for another time, I guess. It'll make it to the airwaves one of these days.
But
yeah,
and then everybody's going to realize, like, oh, that's why you kept cutting it.
Right, exactly. It's one of those, I feel like it was expendable. And it's funny, I cut it out, and it really didn't make a difference in the file size. And so I had to go to another alternative route to figure out how I was going to get the show uploaded. little panicky last week. So I'm like, oh, I didn't expect this to happen. What do I do? What do I do? But we got it up there. We got it out to the masses. It was a fun show, but we're going to get to serious business here on this show. As usual, we're going to start with where the podcast was this week, and of course at New Smyrna Speedway. Race number 3 of the Sunbelt Series, which, Tom, you've been around the last couple of years. You know, the Sunbelt Series came back last season, and it was moderate to moderate success. 6 cars in the
Which
first
is
race.
being generous. That's, I think.
Yeah. The first race last year was a disappointment, for sure. We've talked about that numerous times. Second race was an uptick. And then, of course, we had 2 or 3 rainouts, and we tried to make the Clyde Hart twin 50s, and that kept getting rained out. And then the hurricane came, and we never got any other races in. So it was a rough start to the revival of the Sunbelt Series, to say the least.
Yeah, I just uploading this most recent one to the YouTube channel. I searched Sunbelt in my own archives just to make sure that I was getting the title correct, because I want it all to,
Flow.
I've got a format that I want to match up, and it was another one of those situations where I look stuff up and I'm like, did I forget to upload some races? Like,
no.
What is that? That's all we got in.
That's all we got in.
Yeah, it was sad last year.
Yeah, last year was a weird year, and it was kind of that year where you look back at it and you're like, man, what's going on? But then we get to the track on Saturday, and I was kind of telling you guys last week when we talked, I've got about 10, 11 guys that I think are going to be there, and maybe some surprises. And, we talked about some of those guys, and there were a few that weren't there. Bobby Good, Nick White, to name a few.
Jeff Schofield, Gavin Graham, not insignificant names.
Right. There were some drivers that were at the last 2 that weren't at this one. But not everybody runs for points in the state. That's something I've realized and had to come to terms with. I don't like it, but it's just, sometimes you get the guys, sometimes you don't. So there were a few names that weren't there, but we had so many new names and new cars come out and returning faces that we ended up with a great, I think it was one of the most competitive fields we've had for a New Smyrna late model race in years.
Yeah, there was a story, would you say the top 6, the top 8? There was the 28, remind me of the name.
Tim Watson.
Tim Watson. Yep. That's right. I just edited the highlight reel, and I have several times of you going, Watson. And I'm going frame by frame trying to figure out which part of the ooh to cut in on. So I should remember that. But then, Jake Finch cutting a tire, taking the pit stop, and then blasting right back up through the field.
This is impressive.
And even on the other side of it, Michael Goddard, doing great last time and struggling this time. There were stories all up and down the field.
And that, Goddard was the dominant car a month and a half ago. So we're talking 6 weeks. And that shows you how competitive the world of super late model racing is you can have a guy come dominate at your track, and then 6 weeks later, whatever it is, come back and be mid-pack. And he still had good lap times. He was competitive. He was like 4th or 5th in qualifying. So it wasn't like they were off.
Right.
They just weren't, they didn't nail it like they did a couple weeks ago. And I think that's a good thing, because you want to see these guys keep working. You want it to be unpredictable, even though the end result was kind of predictable this week, but it wasn't in a predictable fashion.
Right.
And it made for a very interesting race. And just get a couple things out of the way before we go more in depth into the race about the event itself. And I like to be transparent. Definitely some frustrating things during the event itself. Qualifying started late, and I don't have we were ready to go. We had drivers still going through tech at like 6:15 for pre-qualifying tech. So that's an issue. And I'm not sure where that issue stems from. The schedule was out like a week in advance. The schedule's printed and available all over the racetrack. It was announced, drivers to pre-tech, qualifying's at 6, but we didn't start qualifying at 6. And you saw cars. I think if you go back and watch the qualifying video, you'll hear me mention, we still have a couple cars in tech.
Yeah.
And I honestly believe, I can understand at 6 o'clock if, the guys that qualify 16th and 17th are still going through tech. But I think by 6:05 at the latest, everybody should be pretty much ready to go for qualifying. I hate to suggest this, and I hate to say it's time to enforce this kind of thing, but I feel like if you're not ready and staged when it's your time to go, there needs to be a penalty of some sort, because it held up the show. And it pushed everything back to where like the first heat race didn't start till after 6:30. And the heats were fine, but then again, on our end, we have too much downtime between races. So there was a lot of things that just caused the qualifying portion of the show, the early bird portion of the show, to take longer than it should have. And when we started the show, there was no, we knew that maybe there was a possibility of weather, but we can't start the features until 7:30. That's the thing with the early bird. We still cannot start the features early. But everything took so long to get qualified that we had to cut the autograph session. Then we had the ceremonial stuff that we still had to do. And that stuff didn't go smoothly. It was a little bit frustrating. I thank Rusty for talking me down because I went down there. I'm like, okay, I'll get the driver of the week up here. I'll go do that while they line up the supers. Not a problem. Then we'll roll right into the next thing. I do driver of the week, and I'm like, all right, Courtney, hang tight. All right, hang tight. Car's not even rolling yet. Then I see Rusty pull out with the pace car, and I wondered why. I don't know if you noticed, but he went all the way down the straightaway. And I'm like, why the hell are you going way down there? And come to find out later in the night, after I debriefed with him, he goes, I was waiting for my cars. It's like, I pulled down there because I was going to pick up the field and get ready to go. But he's like, the race director disappeared. We were all under the impression that the cars were going to roll out as I went down to do driver of the week. Because that's what I said. All right, I'm going to do driver of the week. We'll get the rest of the stuff ready. But there was it felt like forever for me, but there was like a 10-minute period of nothing because nothing was going on. And I don't know. I went down to the racetrack and then Miss Hart came down. I talked to her and I said, hey, we've got a little bit of discombobulation here. I really don't know what's going on. I'm ready to start. We don't have late models out here. We don't have Jim up here. Jim and Brooke, I guess, weren't notified ahead of time that they were wanted on the front stretch. So we had to, roll call them to the front stretch. Late models hadn't staged yet. I was thinking, okay, we're going to roll after the heats. We're going to roll late models out. We're going to have this this autograph session, which will give us enough time to get everybody that we need where they're supposed to be. But we had to scrap that. So nobody was really ready. Nobody was where they were supposed to be. So I'm down there on track and I'm trying to figure out what the hell's going on. And I don't carry a radio because it's distracting to me. And I hear the people, they're getting antsy. And then you kind of look over your shoulder and then you see the clouds and you're like, son of a bitch. Okay. It's really time to get going here. So there were definitely some things that were not smooth. And I personally apologize. I'm sure there were things that I could have done better. Things were communicated to me as far as what was going on, but I also thought that meant that things were communicated to the other people that needed to know about it as well. So if those conversations with me were meant for me to have everybody where they were supposed to be, I apologize, but I kind of knew what we were going to do, and then it all fell apart, and I didn't know what the hell we were going to do. So opening ceremonies took a while, but I'm glad that we took the time to honor Jim and Brooke, because losing, whether you're a fan of Jim Jones and his photography or not, for him to be around that racetrack for so long and to lose his father and still be at the racetrack is, I feel like he deserves some recognition and a little bit of feel-good moment. So I'm glad we did that. And I feel like once we got them to the racetrack, that went well. And then Rusty's like, we're going to do the thing for George. And I'm like, Rusty, I don't know what you want me to do because earlier in the day you said, don't do this. And now you want to do this. And he took the mic and did it. And I thought he did a great job saying what needed to be said and doing that part of it. And then we got to the tower, played the anthem, and went racing. So definitely for those listening thinking, well, you guys wasted a lot of time, I'm telling you right now, I'm giving you the transparency of what happened. And I talked to Holly today and said, hey, just a few things to button up. It's no individual's fault. It's all of us can do better. And we tighten up a few things, and we're in better shape because looking at that field of late models, 17 cars came out for this 100-lapper. And that's, to me, for a weekly show, I know it's a 100-lapper. So this isn't just our old 35-lappers where we used to get 6, 7, 8 cars.
But they were 100-lappers last year, too.
Right. And so you compare what we had this week to what we had at all last year, it's leaps and bounds a
Yeah.
step in the right direction.
Yeah.
So for some of the things that haven't been as smooth procedurally, you can tell where there's been work on the other side of things, and I think it's a good thing. And I think we start getting these consistent 15 to 18 car counts for late model races. The fans are going to come back.
It's trending in the right direction, and I'll back you up on the transparency because we rode in and we rode out together, and on the ride back, that's when we're going to be bitching about stuff if there's something that went wrong.
Yeah, and to clarify, when we say bitching,
right,
we're talking about the things that could have been better.
I did think twice before using that word, and I was like, I think you said it earlier, so I'll go ahead and say it.
I don't want somebody to listen to this and think, oh, they're upset or they're talking S.
We're like, whenever we leave the track, we start complaining.
No,
but like
we debrief and we go over the things that
if there was something that stuck in our craw on that ride home, that's when it's going to get aired out. And the story that you just told is the same one that I heard in the car. So I'll back you up on the transparency there. And like you said about the moment of silence for Jim's father, the story about George helping out people that Rusty wanted to tell, everyone's heart is in the right place.
Yes.
And you suggest maybe there should be a penalty for showing up to qualifying late or whatever it is. And that may sound strict, but if you don't have rules, or if you do have rules but they're not enforced,
then what's the point?
Then stuff gets sloppy.
Yeah.
And that applies across the board at anywhere you go.
Yep.
Absolutely anywhere you see it in anything that wants to be an organized anything. If there are not rules or rules that are enforced, then no matter how people's hearts are in the right place, stuff does start to fall through the cracks. And it didn't end up being catastrophic on Saturday, but it was to the point where me having my heads in my cameras and trying to make sure I've got the angles and everything, even in that, I was like, okay, I rushed around and got set up, and now I'm just waiting, and I'm definitely noticing that nothing's happening, and weather's coming.
You don't want to frustrate the drivers to where they don't want to come back, but if you let the drivers run everything and are on driver time 24/7, then you alienate the fans. So there's a balance, and that's what I'm talking about. Is I try to find the balance between what's good for the drivers and what's good for the fans, because I'm on both sides of it here, and I'm on thirds. Like, I think about the fans, think about the drivers, and I got to make sure the track is happy too with me, and make sure that I uphold what I need to uphold for the track. Because if I don't believe in it, then who does?
I mean, it's literally a salesman position. In
a way.
Whenever I had a job, I always have some weird story that may or may not actually relate to something. But when I did have a salesman position, I had to make sure that I actually that I genuinely believed in the product I was selling. Otherwise, I could not sell it.
Right.
Because then, no matter how good a job I did of purporting myself as a salesman, I would know that I was lying. So I had to make sure that it was a product that I actually used myself and believed in myself before I tried to feed people the lines about why they should spend money on it.
Right. And that's why when I get on here and I talk about something, I'm not putting it down. I'm just letting everybody know, hey, I hear you. I know the concerns that you had about XYZ. So here's what happened, and give you a little bit more insight into it. And if you're upset about it, then you have every right to be upset about it. But at least you know it's not falling upon deaf ears.
Right.
And we're aware of, basically my point is we're aware that some things need to be tidied up. And we've been talking about that all year. And there just seems to be an issue with certain things running smoothly that have to be running for us to have a race. So working on it. Talked to Holly and Def about it today, and hopefully hopefully improvements start to procedural improvements are start to show, and we can move past all this stuff. But we did get a race in. Now we got all the heats in. First of all, let me be clear about that. All the heats were in. Qualifying was in. So the fields were officially set for feature action. We got the first feature started, and let's go ahead and talk about that super late model race, because those first 4 laps with the 8-car invert, Tim Watson set fast time, which was very impressive, but we drew an 8 on the invert. So he started back in 8th. So we inverted about half the field when you think about it.
Right.
And
Right.
that put Daniel Webster on pole, I believe. Or
No, it was Atwell.
Atwell was on pole.
Right.
And Webster led early. I know Webster had the lead early and Gorham.
Oh, maybe it was
Gorham
Webster.
about.
Okay, you're probably right then. Okay.
I know Atwell was up there, but I think Webster led, like, he got the lead early, and then Gorham, with the sense of urgency and how these super late models race, like track position's important.
Yeah.
I remember Gorham being aggressive either on the first lap or on the second
lap. Yeah.
He kind of got into Webster a little bit off the corner. So I think Webster led lap 1, and then Gorham got around him or started battling him on lap 2.
That sounds right.
And we had a lot of action, a lot of jostling for position. And then the 99, Bobby Gordon, he blew a motor. And first time out at New Smyrna in that car. Kudos to him. He reached out to us via our website and said, first and foremost, had a blast. The staff did a great job. We appreciate everybody. Didn't even say anything about his tough night. He said, I would like to help promote in any way that I can the next race. I would like, I have some events that I do. If there's a way to, I can get tickets or discount codes, I'd love to give them out and help spread the word. I've got space on my car. So this guy's reaching out and he's like, I know you guys do a lot of your stuff on social media, but I'd like to help with an old school approach on the marketing.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow. So I reached out to him, got him in touch with Tammy, and we're going to work with him. So short night for him, 4 laps, blown motor, and yet he wants to help us. So that is the kind of person that you want around. So and to me, that tells me he'll be back. Mm-hmm. So that's good news. He's on board with the next race and wants to help promote it. So super cool. Sucks he blew a motor. And then his pseudo teammate, Brian Finney, in the 80 car, they were, they came in together, team cars. I don't know if they're out of the same stable or not, but virtually teammates. Finney was out on lap 4 too. So we lost 2 pretty good cars on lap 4 to blown motors or mechanical issues. And then Trenton Hennick, of course, wrecked in practice. That team cut the front end of the car off and made it on the racetrack. I think that right there was a testament of what it means to some of these racers. Your day's already screwed up before the sun goes down.
Yeah, apparently was a nasty enough wreck that I had people coming up to me in the pits like, oh, man, I wish you filmed practice.
Yeah, I heard a couple of different people mention, it would have been right where you have your wall camera. You would have gotten it. So, yeah, Trenton Hennick, who's running for points, running for Rookie of the Year, crashed in practice, stuck around all day. I never saw them pack up, so I didn't really know what their plan was. And I didn't want to bug him because, you don't want to go up and be like, so I see you've had a bad day. What's the plan? Because I did that with the guy who flipped the truck. He's like, I'm selling this shit. I'm done. Yeah. And then he's never been back. So, you don't want to, So I always toe that line and leave them alone when they have a bad incident like that. But they cut the front of the car off, and their point was, let's start the race and get our points and get some payout for being here. And that's what they did. But I'll give them, I feel like that is deserving of a little recognition because it'd be really easy to just pack up and go home. So we had 3 cars down by 4 laps in is my point with all this. And with the red flag to clean up the track, because unfortunately Bobby did put grease down all around the speedway. That's when I really knew, like, oh yeah, the weather, like, I knew the forecast, and it's kind of like, hopefully it misses us. So we're not thinking about it. And then when that red flag hit and we had the delay, I was able to take a few minutes and look around outside, and I'm like, oh, it's coming. Mm-hmm. Shit. This delay is not what we needed, because we probably could have got another 10, 15, 20 laps of the race in.
Yeah, probably. It definitely hit us bad enough that we probably wouldn't have been able to finish it. But at that point, I mean, you and I even said to one another, since the delay was long enough that you were able to come up and chat for a moment. Yeah. Well, at least we're going to be able to get this one in.
Yeah, and I felt like even with the weather that we could see off in the distance threatening, I'm like, well, 51 laps. If we get 51 laps in, that's an official race. Now, I did have in the back of my mind, like, I knew we were going to get restarted. It was a question of how many laps will we be able to run, and will we get to halfway, I guess, was the main question at that point.
You were conscious enough to say this one's official after we hit that mark.
Yes, and that was a big deal to get to that point. But I also had in the back of my mind, like, I wonder if we get close enough to halfway, what the track will do, because the track could say at lap 45, if it rains, this race, we're not halfway. It's not official. No pay, no points, nothing. You just ran 45 laps for nothing. They could say that. But I wondered because I know that Rusty really treats this Sunbelt Series as a big deal. It is a big deal for us. And he treats he tries to treat these drivers with the most respect. So I wondered if we got close enough, if they wouldn't just deem the race official. Because I feel like at our level that they could make that decision, just like they did with the modifieds at Speed Weeks. They paid official race points and payout based on qualifying to take care of the drivers that take care of us every February.
Right. That drove down all the way from New England.
Right. Sucky deal for the fans for sure. Sucky deal for maybe those guys that were hoping Matt Hirschman maybe had a problem and they could beat him, which was unlikely.
For Hirschman fans who wanted to see him
get all 5. Yeah. Which he technically did. But yeah, I just wondered, I'm like, well, I wonder if we get close enough, if the track will just determine, okay, it's official, we're going to pay you out based on where your position is. Luckily, we had a damn good race. Like, it was compact. So we got 63 laps in. First 4 laps were crazy. Things then kind of sorted out a little bit. Only one other caution. That was when Jake Finch was battling Michael Atwell for third. He cut a right front tire, and I think probably one of the biggest saves we've seen
oh my gosh,
in a late model, because he blew that tire in turn 3, skated up the racetrack. A lot of times, to a more inexperienced driver, that's a big wreck. That's a clip. That
ends your car. Yeah.
And he was headed for the wall, but he did a great job to keep it off the wall, keep it going down the front straightaway so you get that great shot that you got. Then he got off into turn 1. He had it woed up, was able to change the tire. And it's fun to watch those guys change those tires and get them back out there. I know it's not the NASCAR pit stop, 9-10 seconds, but it's fun to watch them get a new tire on, see the intensity to get that car back in the race.
No, I love that stuff, and thank you to Jake Finch for driving that right past the on-track GoPro, because the way the sky looked at that time, like that shade of blue and the shade of orange that the sparks are,
good contrast.
You see that on Hollywood movie posters all the time. Even if the poster doesn't call for sparks, they have a blue background and they have the sparks because it's eye-catching, and the paint job on his car matches the Sunbelt Series logo that I made last year.
It really does.
It's one of the best
the pictures.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite thumbnails I've ever put up. So thank you, Jake. And it was weird to film because that happened, and I've seen enough of these over the past 8 years to be like, oh, he's going into the wall. This is not ending well, and I'm just going to be framed up on turn 4 for quite a while here while they double hammock him out.
Yeah.
And then he kept going, and I'm like, oh,
what a
this
save.
is... it's one of those alternate reality moments where you're like, what? I'm still filming the car going? What's happening? Yeah, great save.
And then on top of all that, he made it very exciting when we went back to racing, because I think that caution happened lap 20, lap 25.
And again, credit to Jake. I didn't I don't know him as a driver that well. I know he's raced at our track a lot. I'm familiar with the look of the car, but I mean, I wasn't expecting him to blast up through the track the way he did, so I basically missed it. I just sort of passed
focusing
off
on the leaders.
Yeah, I was focusing on other stuff, and then I'm like, oh my gosh, he's already back up into the top 5.
Yeah,
or
I
something?
think within a lap or two of the restart, he had gotten by 3 or 4 other cars and was flying. And honestly, if the race had gone the distance and we had a caution or two, he's probably a player in the finish of the race.
Yeah.
He got back up to 4th, and that's as far as he's able to get right after halfway. And with all this going on, George Gorham is still leading. Right after halfway.
With great restarts, by the way. Gorham's restart after that incident was
fantastic.
Because you're thinking, is this where Brad's going to get him? And Gorham just, zoomed out front.
So Gorham led for a while, and right around the halfway point, you could start, the rain was coming from behind the tower, so the drops weren't hitting the window, so I couldn't see that there were drops, but I could see commotion in the grandstands. And I could see a few people starting to make their way down, and I'm like, shit. Then you look up in the lights, and it wasn't bad, but you could see some precipitation, and we all knew it was coming.
Our hot dogs are good, but they're not that popular. Where's everybody going?
Why are you missing out on the what could be the end of the race? Where are you going? But there was a point where I remember Brad May was all over George Gorham. And a lap later, he's 3 or 4 car lengths behind. The next lap, he's 6 or 7 car lengths behind. And I went, oh, shit. Brad is totally backing off to cool his tires because he knows that weather is coming. Like, obviously, he's had his spotter look and say, hey, we got weather coming. We got to make our charge. He cooled his stuff down, and he said this in his interview. He backed it up to go make that final charge. He basically, as he said, when he heard it's go time from the spotter, like it's going to rain any minute, he went into attack mode. And that was the most aggressive I've seen Brad drive. And I know these guys are running, there's a few raindrops. It's starting to get slick. These things are on edge as it is.
Brad did say that the rain did, he suspected the rain might have affected the track a little bit and helped him pass Gorham in 3.
Well, because they touched, but it wasn't like Brad just drove straight in the corner and knocked Gorham out of the way.
They were both driving each other real clean around 3 and 4. Each of them had a moment where they could have gotten into one another, and they didn't. It was beautiful driving. Yeah. There was a moment coming around, I believe it was 1 and 2, where Brad slid up.
Yeah, Brad did slide up from the bottom and kind of got into Gorham, but didn't knock him so far to the groove where it was over at that point.
Right. Gorham was still in it.
Yeah. But it did. That was kind of the moment where Brad was able to take advantage. And then when he got out in front, it was like, oh, it's over. And
I love when you say goodbye.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've watched Brad May race enough to know when he gets to the lead, I mean, let's just say that this line of showers fizzled out or didn't get here, and the race goes, I don't know that he holds on to win, because if we get another restart and Jake Finch gets up there, people start making contact, things get shuffled around. But I figured with the time that we probably had left in that race, that was bad news for the rest of the field. And sure enough, it was right after, I think it was like lap 52 or 53 when it started sprinkling. And the race could have been called at any time.
Yeah, it could have. Yep.
But we got another, 8, 9, 10 laps in. Excuse me. I know some people are probably thinking, oh, the minute Brad May gets the lead, you watch, they'll throw the checkers. But we got 63 laps in.
I mean, you just said it. We could have justifiably called it before the halfway point.
They could have. I mean, the Speedway officials could have made that decision if that's what they chose to do. Or they could have said, race isn't official. We'll have to pick it up another time, or this one's... I remember a Clyde Hart Memorial that started, I think it was 2016. It started, we got maybe 20, 30 laps in, it rained, and they all said, nope, it's it. We're not coming back tomorrow. This race just didn't happen. And it never happened again.
That's right.
So that was a waste. And I don't think that's the right call. So I think that the track would have taken care of the late models for being here with the good turnout. But luckily we got 63 laps in. Still sucks. I mean, I've been talking about how 75 might be the perfect distance, and I feel like if you think about that being a 75-lap distance, like, there was good action in that point. There was no real lull in that race. Even when it was George Gorham and then Brad May was in second, you knew Brad May was up to something. You were watching Brad May. You were watching George Gorham kind of size each other up at that point. And then you got Jake
there was
Finch,
a battle for third.
Right. You got Finch and Atwell going at it. You got Timothy Watson getting shoved around several times. He got knocked around the racetrack trying to make his way back up through. So there was good racing. Then you had Webster hanging out in the top 5 for a while. You had Michael Goddard. You were watching him out of the corner of your eye, wondering what's up with him.
The novelty of Jason Vale in a super late.
That was just cool.
Yeah.
That was cool. Because he's so quiet. He don't ever tell you what he's up to.
When you interview him, he turns around and faces away.
Yes, he does.
That's just his personality.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
No.
He's introverted, and that's fine. I mean, I totally understand it. I saw him walk into the bar, and I was like, interesting to see you out here. And he's like, always up to something. And then he walked in and got his pay and went home. So,
that's so Jason.
Yep, that is. I mean, I remember I got a text in the morning because I had a good roundabout idea who was going to be there. I knew I was more surprised at who didn't show up than who.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah.
And I guess there was some contention about, I shared my potential entry list on the New Smyrna Facebook page because that's the only question I was getting. I talked about this last week. And then I got a phone call about how, you put out an entry list, kind of, sort of. Well, somebody saw that and said, well, I'm not bringing my cars now. I think that's the most petty bullshit. You don't want to go race against a good field of cars because one other driver is going to be there. Go race your car. Like, if one other person makes you not want to race, I don't know if you're doing it for the right reasons or not. That just seems
yeah,
petty to me.
I was
I
kind
don't know
of
who it was. I don't care who it was.
yeah.
I know that I worked my ass off to try to give the people an idea. I'm trying to put butts in those grandstands, but I'm not going to be upset about it. It is what it is. If we lost a car because somebody saw somebody else was coming, at least that other person was there. And it's like I told Rusty, I'm like, you know, if you're getting phone calls about the people that are coming, maybe you don't want the people that are calling you to be there. Because if that is going to be a problem, then maybe you just don't want them there.
Yeah.
So hopefully it's not a problem going forward. If it is, oh well. I know that George Gorham, despite not getting the win, was happy to be there. And he said, you heard him in the shed. He's like, I'm going to bring my other cars next time.
Yeah,
We're going to be here for we're trying to make all the rest of these races and Governor's Cup for sure. So
yeah,
we
it
should
was
see Gorham.
a
the rest of the
very
year.
polite thing to say, but it sounded very genuine coming from him. He even had other reasons as to why he thought it was a good show and and it's a good place for his team to be and practical. And, you know, putting over the car count and saying that he sees how the track is working to improve the car count. And YouTube comments are YouTube comments, and usually not much mind should be paid to them.
Sure.
But I got a very respectful comment from a viewer in Detroit. And I love seeing the out-of-state, sometimes out-of-country comments from people who just
was
love...
that the, you know, seems like this track doesn't have many people. Was that
yeah,
the comment?
and Steve chimed in very astutely and said, like, well, the grandstands are really spread out. So, like, we can get the same kind of crowd that Auburndale draws, and they'll spread out more so then it doesn't look like much. And also in Auburndale, from where I'm filming, I catch a lot of the stands.
Right.
But how high
where
I am
you
at
are
New Smyrna,
at New Smyrna, the good portion of the grandstand is cut out.
Exactly.
And you don't see it at all.
So
It looks
I'll
like
see
nobody's
like
there.
down at turn 4, down at turn 1, where
it's more
fewer people
sparse.
are sitting.
Right. The main grandstand was decently full of people come feature time.
Yeah.
Decently full. Definitely could have been more people. But the weather, I'm sure, scared people away.
That is an element of it, and I'm sure there are various other
There are
elements
probably
as well.
some people that think about the last few years of late model racing and say, I'm not paying $20 to go watch 6 cars.
Bingo. And so we are currently reestablishing that. I mean, the division is reestablishing itself, but I mean that was a feel good car count.
It was
on Saturday.
Listen, we had
And-
19 for the Orange Blossom at the end of the world, the end of the World Series.
Yeah.
And then we had, I think, 14 for the second race. Pretty good. And
Yeah.
then 17 for this one.
Yeah. So people are noticing it,
Yep.
and you know, you got a stand-up guy like George Gorham saying that in the video. I'm so glad we were able to go down to the pits and get those interviews after the fact. And people notice this guy from Detroit commenting like, "Hey, why aren't more people there? Because the car counts are
and he
really
didn't
good."
do it like, wow, nobody comes to this track.
Right.
He did it. He respectfully asked, you know, what's up.
Yeah.
That's all he was doing.
Yeah, and the best answer I could muster before other people chimed in, like Steve, was just saying like, well, we're reestablishing right now.
Yeah.
It's still, I don't know.
The
Reestablishing
Sunbelt
sums it
Series
up.
is still a work in progress,
Yes.
but I think it has legs now for sure.
Mhm.
Whereas last year, you know, it had to crawl so that this year could walk.
Yeah.
And hopefully, you know, it continues and we're walking on sunshine. You know what I mean? It was a great turnout, and I just attribute that to a lot of the work that people don't see. Because Rusty's not the kind of person to get on the computer and be like, this and this and this, and so and so and so. Rusty does what he has to do to keep Jane and Robert happy, to keep the facility open. And then he's got, you know, a couple of people that he trusts to have to bring cars out, and they have been. Like Brian Finney, what got him back to racing was the Sunbelt Series, you know? And now he's got 2, supposedly another car in the works. We've seen Gorham come back. And, you know, and Gorham, you know, I had somebody say, well, the only reason George Gorham came to New Smyrna is because he's been kicked out everywhere else. That's not true. He's only been kicked out of Auburndale.
Right.
But now he sees that as an opportunity to venture out. And he's gone to Showtime, and he's dominated over there. He's gone to Citrus, and he's dominated over there. And he came to New Smyrna, I think maybe to prove a little bit of a point. Like, I think we can do this too, and he almost did. The only person that got by him was Brad May.
Yep.
And Brad May, I mean, he's the mayor of New Smyrna. That's just the way it goes. So Brad did get by him right there at the very end. If the race had gone 45 laps, then George might have been declared the winner. If the officials chose to do that. Now, of course, right at the halfway point, Brad May gets by. It goes, another 10 laps or so, and it rains. Race is called official, so Brad May picks up the win. First win for him this year. He was not good during the World Series. Different, like a whole step of competition, whole different field of competition at the World Series. But the competition for the Sunbelt races has been good. Instead of being Brad May and then everybody else, it's you've got this guy, this guy, this guy, and this guy, and Brad May, who could contend for the win. So the competition level's been great.
And I actually do want to highlight that. It highlights itself, but because it's Brad May and everybody else in most recent years that we've seen, it has been astounding to me this year to truly see just how great of a driver Brad is, and that he doesn't seem to be getting rusty, because you would think if you're that dominant, like if you just blow away the rest of the field, and I'm not trying to say Brad doesn't make it competitive, but when you don't have competition coming out like he didn't in 2022, he didn't get soft.
No,
he could have had a real bad night at the last race, and he had an amazing save because he's still that sharp, and the team is still that dialed in.
I think that's why when things went south with Rich Klauscher, who used to drive the 9 car back in the day, and then Brad May stepped into that car, because Brad May used to race his own stuff, and Brad was a semi-frequent competitor, but didn't run. He wasn't a New Smyrna all the time guy. Then he stepped into the 9 because Bobby Sears has been Orlando and New Smyrna. And I don't know the story between what happened with Rich. The transition from Rich Klauscher to Brad May happened the year before I started working there. So I don't know what the story is there. But I remember when I first started paying attention to New Smyrna, it was Rich Klauscher in the 9. And then next thing I know, it's Brad May in the 9. So ever since Bobby put Brad in the car, Brad he takes care of equipment. We rarely see a wrecked 9 car.
Yeah.
And if he's caught up in something, it's not of his own doing. Or he gets caught up in it and barely gets any damage.
Right.
He always takes care of his stuff. He makes the most out of a bad day. The second Sunbelt race where he finished second, he did not have a great car. But he survived, and he put his car in the right places to get up on the podium. And tonight, he did just enough to get by George Gorham at the last moment.
It was fascinating for me to watch that. I don't think I've ever seen a race before where the weather played into the strategy.
It really did.
The spotters and the driver, like he said in the interview, he kept on asking them, where's that green line, meaning the radar? Like, where's the green? Where's the green?
Spotter saying it's all around us.
Yeah, and we don't know when the track officials are going to decide to call it, but he's got tires that are getting hot. He's got to drop back and cool it off. He's got to decide when.
He's got a car that's getting hot. They were having water pump issues. They went home to Oviedo and got the backup car just in case.
Yeah, that's right.
So
it was just amazing to me, fascinating to me to see the weather strategy in action, and just deciding on the timing, like, okay, this is when we go for it.
It was
and it was just a few laps later that it got called.
The race definitely did not have that boring lull to it that like the Pro Late Model race at the beginning of the year had. No offense.
I get, like I said earlier today, and by the time this drops, it will already be out. I edited the highlight reel. I was able to salvage, for just to the heats, some extra stuff like the like Rusty telling the George Gorham story and whatnot, and even he rushed through that. You could tell he did. I don't think he.
Well, we were all
the
feeling
thing.
The pressure,
exactly.
Of the fans and the rain and the
even with all of that. It's an 8-minute highlight reel.
Good.
Because I got to this 63-lap, 100-lap race, and the 63-lap, 100-lap race. And I was literally going lap by lap. Sometimes I scanned through quicker, like, oh, what was the exciting stuff that happened? And I was going lap by lap through this thing, like,
plenty of stuff going on.
So excited. Yeah, I really enjoyed this one.
Well, so Brad May does get the win. George Gorham is second. Michael Atwell, pretty quiet third place finish for him. He's getting kind of overlooked in this whole deal, but he ran a great race, had a fast car. Good to see him back out there. It's been, a year and a half since we've seen him out there. It was good to see. It's like when I talked to Rusty earlier in the day, I was like, so how many cars did show up? He's like, I think there's 16, 17, something like that. And he goes, and it's a different cast than what we had last time. And I'm like, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
That's a good thing. So
then maybe a different mix of those same people,
Right, so
and maybe a couple others will show
we've got
up for the
a
fourth.
pool of drivers now, and you're probably going to poll 15 or so drivers from this pool and hope you get them all together on a good night.
Yeah.
And I think the next 2 races during the regular season, they're going to be just fine. Nobody should worry if they're going to have the car count. The competition's going to be there. The car count should be there as well. And I think Governor's Cup is going to be great too, because Governor's Cup is the championship race.
Yeah.
Brad May might go into that race with a 50-point lead, but it's still the championship race. Most of these guys are going to want to show up for it. I think the Governor's Cup is going to be, and we didn't run Governor's Cup last year, so it's like the Red Eye. That's not a get-rich race. That's not a big, it's a 50-lap race, but people wanted to come to it because we didn't race so much last year. So
And it's the grand finale for that asphalt.
Yeah, it's
for that
not
particular
finale, but
right. There'll be like 1 or 2 other races that go
you're
on
talking
after the Governor's Cup.
Yeah, well, you got Governor's Cup, then you have the Bigley over at Freedom Factory, which is going to be a big deal, and then there's Snowball Derby. So it's in big race season for sure. So
Yeah, but before we tear up our half mile,
this will be Governor's Cup will be the last race on the current surface. So
if
if it does get torn up and repaved like it's supposed to, so that'll
fair
be
enough,
big too.
Fair enough.
I would love to see.
Did I understand what you just said? That Governor's Cup is the last 6-pack series?
Yes,
Right?
that is the championship. Governor's Cup weekend will be
I
the
should have
champion.
known
Listen,
that.
It'll be the championship for the late models, for the supers, for the pros, for the modifieds, and the mod minis. So 4 championship races on Governor's Cup weekend.
I did not, because usually we crown the champions before that, and then
Right.
Governor's Cup weekend
the
is
6-pack
non-points.
races are, and that was one of the things that Rusty wanted is Governor's Cup to have a little more oomph to it.
Well, mission accomplished.
Right.
You said you would love to see.
I would love to see the winner of the Governor's Cup get to take a backhoe. If the track is getting repaved and dig up that first strip and take a chunk of the asphalt home with them with the
Clyde
trophy.
Hart gets to put on the hat, and Governor's Cup gets to tear up the track.
I think that'd be cool because that's what Jeff Gordon did when he won at Phoenix. Before they repaved it, he dug up the front stretch and took the asphalt home with him.
That's great. That's great.
It makes for good promo stuff.
Yeah.
So the track is supposed to get repaved.
How many times have I used that shot of Brad May putting on the Clyde Hart and throwing his fingers
It's classic.
up? Like
that's a classic
sometimes people
shot.
just put the hat on, they realize they have it on backwards, they turn it around, and then they pose with Holly and Jane, and that's all nice. But
And then
Brad
God
put
only
it
knows.
on, and then he threw his arms up in the air for the crowd, and that's on the old camera. And,
God, that
and
was
the
what,
old
17,
tripod.
18?
Yeah, I think it was 17, and I still use that shot. It's a great shot. I still go back to 2016. I didn't even put the shot of George Spears climbing up on his super stock and throwing his arms up with the checkered flag. I didn't even put that in the original video because I learned by the time that I was editing it that the win had been DQ'd. Nowadays, I would just include it anyway. But at the time, I was like, oh, I guess I shouldn't put the celebration because he didn't really get the win.
We used to get so much more. Oh, don't include that. Don't include this. Don't do this. Now
Stuff
it's
has
just kinda
changed
like,
over. That is very true. Now that you remind me, but I still had the footage, and I've gone back and used that multiple times because it's a
good
fantastic
moment.
shot. Those celebrations. I know there's controversy with Paul Kochi, but those celebrations that Paul got, I mean, I'll continue using those because it's. I guess using is a cynical way to put it, but it's great footage of these people who got, inspiring wins.
Yeah, absolutely. It's indelible moments,
Yeah,
regardless
indelible, I
of
love that word.
the story behind
Yeah.
what might have happened going down the road. It's still a great moment. You can't take it away. So that was the good of the night. Of course, the rain comes in. It was significant rain. And
Yeah, it was the right call.
Yep. So the race gets called. We wait a few minutes to kind of see what it's going to do. And we pretty much knew right away that it was probably going to be the end of it was called the end of the super late model race right away. They said, let those guys go to tech and start getting to work. And then it wasn't 5 minutes later that the rest of the night was called off. As we let the dust settle and waited for management to figure out what the next step was, you and I went down to the tech shed because I saw Brad May's car come out of the tech shed. So I'm thinking, oh, tech is complete because you wanted to see if we go get some interviews for the videos. And I said, great idea. Well, they pushed Brad May out to push him to the other side of the tech room so all 3 cars could be undercover. So we're down there and to do the interviews, and I realized, oh, they're not done with tech. So we stood down there for another, 20 minutes at
It
least.
felt like 20 at least.
20 to 30 minutes. And it rained to the point where if it had rained another half an inch, it was going to flood the tech shed.
Yeah.
So the rain was significant, and it lasted long enough to where even if I know people say, oh, they didn't even try. The rain lasted long enough, and there was enough of it to where if we had resumed the night, the late model race was already called. You weren't seeing any more late model racing. We would have stuck around for another 3 hours, maybe.
Yeah.
To see, and not to discount any other division, but nobody would have stuck around. Drivers in the classes that hadn't raced yet would have started leaving. It was a lose-lose situation. But since, like I said earlier, those races were deemed to have a lineup, there will be double features for those classes down the road. I don't have dates yet, but it'll just be one of those. Tonight will be, we'll start the night off with a super stock feature, then we'll go into heats for the next, the actual night. So the races or the divisions that were there and that did qualify do have a starting lineup. You'll have a double feature at some point because your event had started. Now, on those double feature nights, it's for those drivers. The first race is for those drivers that were here that night. So I don't know if they'll let people tag to the rear or not. That's up to the officials, and I'm not going to comment on that because they say it's for just the cars that were here, and I feel like that's the most fair thing because they ran a heat. But anyway,
we'll see how that all shakes out. I like I said on my Sunday update, I totally sympathize with anyone, and I don't have anyone specific in mind. I have not heard any frustrations, whatever. But if anybody is frustrated because they're like, well, on that day, I spent a lot of time preparing, and I would have waited to be able to race my race.
Sure, and there's some that would have, for sure. Absolutely.
I totally sympathize with that, but there have been other nights where we try to be optimistic, we try to do what's right by the drivers and the fans, and we wait for 2 hours, two and a half hours,
nothing.
And then we still call it because it was obvious from the get-go this rain is bad enough that we've got to call it. So I was happy just having seen enough nights like that Rusty did say, okay, you know what, let's let these people go.
And I sympathize for the drivers that towed out and didn't get to race but a heat race. I sympathize for the fans that now they got a quote unquote complete show.
Right.
And I know to some that sounds like bullshit, but in the grand scheme of things, in the policy, if the heats and the main event are done, it's a full show. So it just doesn't look good on paper.
And silver lining, I know the heats are early bird now as well, so not everybody's shown up at that point.
Some people probably showed up, saw 63 laps of racing, saw us diddle our thumbs in pre-race and are pissed.
But, silver lining, the heats were good too.
Heats were good.
Yeah. I mean, we had, it was Curtis Robinson and Matt Jarrett.
Side by side, Jarrett stole the position.
Which, again, Sunday update, I said, and looking back at the footage, I said it, and I was like, was I overstating that? And I looked back at the footage, and I thought, no, I don't think so.
No, you weren't.
That might be the closest crossing the line that I've ever
That reminds
filmed.
me of, I think it was Wayne Parker and Jerry Simons for second back in 2017 or 18.
Something like that, yeah.
You clipped it out and put it on YouTube before you even
that's right. That's right. It's so close that on that GoPro camera, like on the main camera, there's a part of the flag stand that's like just in front of what you want to see.
Yeah.
So then you look down on the on-track camera, and it's so close that you almost want to say like, well, is it because of the angle of the camera that it looks like Jarrett beat him? Like, it's so freaking close.
Yeah, that's why you got to look at the paint.
Yeah, so you had that, and then you had the 24-second
rule
really coming into play with the bombers. I know the ground pounders had some issues. Cutter and who was the other? The
Colin Smith spun out, I think.
Yeah.
Couple spins
and
there,
otherwise, Art got back in the villain, and he was blowing everybody away.
Yeah, blew the doors off.
It's a cool looking car, so even when he's blowing people away, it's fun to watch.
It's still cool.
And then
the ground pounders, I don't even, whatever we get from them, it's bonus content for me. So it's just good having them out there.
And then George performing well, because George has had so many hard times. I really like seeing when he has good times, and competitive race for second between Justin and Blake.
Yeah, and Blake got him there on the last lap.
Yeah.
So there was good racing. That's a good point. I definitely sympathize for fans who are upset about the call and anyone who's upset that their armbands aren't good anymore. What I can say is for the rest of June, this weekend, dads, fathers are free. And then the next week is family fun night. So for dads, I know this isn't out for the ladies in the crowd, but for the next month, the rest of June, dads can get into the racetrack for $5.
Yeah.
$5. That's a pretty darn good thing. We got the early bird special. We have family fun night, $5 for everybody. So I know people paid, $15 or $20, depending on when they got there. Only got to see one race go to an official conclusion. But the rest of the month is very cheap. And I feel like in a way that'll make up for it a little bit. And if you come anyways, you'll get to see some double features down the road. So that's the silver lining. I know it doesn't make up for the rain out per se, but that's how I can paint it in a different, maybe more understanding picture for you. And if you're still mad about it, I sympathize with you.
Yeah.
Nobody likes a rain out.
It's just one of those where no matter what way I look at it, I still personally agree with the call. Again, you and I, however we choose to approach on any given week, how we're looking at the forecast and the radar and what we choose to trust. I mean, right up until it started to look bad, it started to look like either it was going to miss us or it was going to pass over with a little sprinkle and, we'll get delayed a little bit, but it's not that bad, like the same amount of delay that practice got. But then it just decided to dump.
Well, it's one of those situations where sometimes you look at the forecast early in the week and it changes every day. And then by the time it's race day, it's nice out. Or
it changes on the day.
Right. Or it changes where it's like all week it says it's going to be good. And then we get to race day and it's not. This was one of those forecasts that no matter how much you looked at it, you still saw that potential for rain around 9:30, 10 o'clock. And sure enough, we got it.
In Florida, who'd have thunk?
Yep. So it's unfortunate. We used to get these storms, between 3 and 4 o'clock. They'd blow through and then it would dry out. But now with the weather patterns and El Nino or La Nina, whatever it is, the one that we're facing this year.
Which is Spanish for the Nino.
Thanks, Tom. But no, it's just it's disappointing. The title of this week's episode is Every Damn Time. Because every damn time that New Smyrna has a really good thing going, something happens. Whether it be a fight that overshadows everything, whether it be rain that, wipes out a big modified race, or in this case, a big super late model race. Anytime we have momentum on our side, something stupid happens that wipes it out. So that was one of those cases every damn time. Great field of cars, a lot of energy in the race, good racing in the super lates, and the rain comes and spoils it. So what I'll say is be frustrated, be upset, but stay with us. We're heading in a better direction.
I mean, this season's been awesome so far. It really has.
And there's been good nights, bad nights, but I think there's only been one night where there wasn't much action, and yet the night was still great because there was good storylines, and we're out of there at like 9 o'clock.
Yep. Yeah.
So
every race was good. It just didn't have like wild, crazy.
Nobody was upside down and crashing out. But real quick before we end the first segment here, take our first break and talk about the NASCAR racing at Sonoma. I want to recap the finishing order here. Brad May, your winner. George Gorham second, Michael Atwell third, Jake Finch fourth. First career top 5 at New Smyrna for Timothy Watson. Daniel Webster finished in 6th. Rich Clouser gave that 58 car a hell of a run. He was 3rd in qualifying. Never had the track position in the race. Was always caught in the wrong line on a restart. Never had momentum to go forward. But the car had speed. Really helping out the John Kaufman team with is Rich Clouser. 8th was Michael Goddard. We talked about him. Like I said, he qualified 4th because he started 5th. So the speed was there. Again, I think a track position game for Michael Goddard just never had the air, never had the clean racetrack that he needed to prevail. We had Tim Sozio in 9th. Just good to see Tim out there with a super. Jason Vale in 10th. Just cool to see him out there as well. Then it was John Kaufman, Charlie Ayers, who was back there, but I think he was down a cylinder because his car spent more time on the apron of the racetrack than it did on the actual track.
Did a good job getting out of the way.
Always does. Always does. Got to have respect for that. And then Morgan Hoover, who I finally got a chance to talk to in the bar after the race. I went up to him and said, "Hey, you're Morgan." He's like, "Yeah, yeah." And I said, "Thanks for coming." And he goes, it's tough to get out here these days. I don't have any help. And if anybody out there wants to help, just a good guy, help get his car to the racetrack, give him a little bit of help in the pits, Morgan Hoover. Talk to him. Number 39, super late. Just good to see him out there. Good guy.
People were asking about him on the tower.
Yeah. Yep. Car looks great. And then we had Brian Finney, 14th with a mechanical issue, Bobby Gordon with a motor, Trent Hennick with the practice crash damage, and then Bill Shea was a DNS. So he left before qualifying. That's 2 races in a row he's been a DNS. So trying to get it figured out. So good turnout. And then the heat races, my last point before we take a break. Thank God for Speedway Video. If you've never heard of it, if it wasn't for Speedway Video, I'd have no results for the heats because I went through my paperwork and never got results for the heats. And just before we started recording, I got a note that because I went back and watched your videos and where I saw them cross the line, I put them down. Apparently, I need to fix Courtney Breeden and CJ Creech because CJ broke out twice, Courtney broke out once. So the text I got was, how can Courtney be 10th when CJ broke out twice? And I said, well, because I watched on Speedway Video and I just watched the end of the race. So I got to go back and review that. I'm sorry, Courtney. I will fix it. Never got any official paperwork. So the good news is everything can be fixed and updated. So thanks to Speedway Video, I got some sort of results up here.
People are going to think I'm biased because she recently joined as a patron, or I should clarify the team did.
So that's James and Courtney.
Exactly.
And Monica. And
yeah. And I've been talking about her a lot recently because the last 2 times she's raced, she's supposed to have had an in-car camera. And then, she didn't, just stuff has happened. But she's got a good car.
Yeah, it's too good right now.
Yeah.
I felt her pain in the driver of the week interview.
Absolutely. And, she was able to turn it into humor with the ethics line.
No, she does. She's good at that. But I feel her pain because she's fast. And she's got nothing really to show for it.
Yeah, exactly. So, and she's gotten into a couple of things. So I don't think I mind. I don't know. No one's ever come after me for anything. So maybe I'll end up minding, but I don't think I mind saying on here that I have heard some talk like, oh, well, she always gets into other people, or oh, she drives people up the track or whatever. So in certain circles, there is that reputation. But what she has proven to me this season is that she's got what it takes. And I enjoy watching her. It's going to sound biased because she's on the Patreon, but I really like watching the X car, and one of these days when she gets podium or first place or something, it's going to be a cool moment.
It will be. And our heat race winners from the night, Dylan LeBeau back in the 75 car for the E-Mods, which was good to see. George Spears in the 23 got his heat race win. Todd Latour back in a Bomber A got the win there. And Art Koonsman, who we mentioned, getting the win in the Ground Pounders. So definitely a wild night, but as you can see, even though the night was rain shortened, still plenty to talk about, and things looking good for the Sunbelt Series. Yeah,
no, most of the stuff we've said is positive. I know we have to frame it the way we framed it because of the rain out and people are upset. But,
and some of the transparency stuff to let everybody know, why things seemed the way they did.
Yeah, just from the video guy's perspective, I had a real good night. I'm really happy with the footage I got,
and that helps. And you got the footage out for everybody to see, and hopefully that it's a step in the right direction. All the late model drivers seemed, happy.
Yeah,
seems like they want to come back. Even Timothy Watson's team, who qualified first, had to start 8th because last time we had a Sunbelt race, the invert was drawn a 0. Michael Goddard qualifies first; he's on the pole. Timothy Watson only his 2nd or 3rd time out here, and he qualifies pole. And then he's told, as they're rolling out of the track, no, you're starting 8th. And he's like, what the fuck? What do you mean I qualified on the pole?
I noticed that they didn't line up in starting order.
Right.
And I was like,
so
I don't know.
There was some confusion there, but then again, I can say, well, you can tell who never read the general rules and the procedures before they came to the racetrack. But you know what I liked about it? I heard them talking to the race director, how it feels like we got fucked over tonight. We got screwed over. And then he goes, but you know what? We'll be back because we're racers. And we just don't, we've been to other tracks and we see how they do it. And we got caught off guard tonight. We think it's bullshit, but we'll be back because we're racers. And I went in, I talked to Timothy and I said, hey, I know you guys feel the way you do right now, but from the announcer, from what it's worth, thought you guys did great. It was good to see you fast. You set fast time and all that. And he goes, oh, we love it here. This place is a challenge. So they'll be back.
He showed it on the track.
Yep.
The video proves it. And sorry for pulling that chip, Timmy.
Yeah,
that was me.
That's what I told him. I was like, look, I'm the announcer. I'm up in the tower. I saw the whole process go down, so I can assure you, You weren't screwed over. It's in the rules. It was done the way we had to do it with the rain tonight. And, yeah.
Yeah,
Better,
you
better
heard
luck
it.
up
I
your
dug
next
my
time.
hand in that bag, and then I ended up I grabbed several, pulled my hand up, let some fall away, and I ended up with 2 sandwiched between my thumb and
Yep.
forefinger, and I was sliding them back and forth like, which
one
one
is
do I
it?
like better? Which one do I like better? And I don't remember which one I picked, but it was the one
But it
that
was
Timmy
the
did
8.
not like.
Right. So there you go. The full story, the full transparency of the night. Thanks to everybody that did come out. And sorry for those of you who are left with a bit of a sour taste in your mouth, but hopefully you're able to appreciate what you did see. And we'll move forward with the next one. We have the Modified 75 this week. Dads are free. I like the car this week. Modifieds, Bomber Bees, Sportsman. Be good to see the Sportsman again. And 602s.
Oh yeah, that'll
So,
be good.
Solid divisions, 1 qualify, 3 heats, features, should be good. And if
Fantastic.
Lester comes out, good luck.
I will admit that I'm really crossing my fingers for that to add some excitement. to the
I
race.
am too, just because he makes, whether you love him or hate him, he's like Kyle Busch. He makes it exciting. So
Yeah.
we're going to take our first commercial break here. On the other side, we'll be back to talk about NASCAR at Sonoma. We're going to take a quick moment here and thank some of our great sponsors with the Racing with Ryan podcast, including American Auto Tires in Service, located at 1523 South Dixie Freeway in New Smyrna Beach, Florida. You can give them a call at 386-428-1941. Of course, that is EJ's company. And if you need anything done, tires, service, you name it, they have you covered. So make sure you stop into American Auto. Or, of course, you can always get with EJ if you're at New Smyrna. You can find him pretty easily in the tire room or driving the pace car. They have all kinds of great deals. Look, I'm in the market for some tires. I'm going to be stopping in there in the next couple of months and getting my tires done there because I wouldn't trust anybody else because I know EJ is going to take care of us. They offer everything from free visual AC checks, tires, maintenance, repairs, any kind of service you need. They even have wheels. So American Auto Tires and Service, your one-stop shop in the New Smyrna area for anything that you need done. So make sure you check them out again. 1523 South Dixie Freeway in New Smyrna Beach, 386-428-1941. Stop in and see our friends at American Auto. We also thank DeBerry Paint and Body for coming on board as a sponsor. Of course, that is the 2 Manellos. So let's just say you get into a little bit of a fender bender and you don't want to go through your insurance because you know they're probably going to hike up your rates and you're going to pay for a deductible and you're still going to have to pay for all this stuff. Make sure you check out DeBerry Paint and Body because they will go ahead and handle that for you. If you got a scuffed up fender, if you got some dents in a bumper, if you got a door that needs replaced, DeBerry Paint and Body will take care of all of that. They are open until about 6 o'clock each day, and you can get in touch with them by giving them a call at 386-320-0267, and they're located at 400 Chairman Court, Suite 200 in DeBerry, Florida, 32713. And again, their hours are typically 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. on the weekdays and 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. on Saturdays because, you know, they got to get out to the racetrack and whatnot. So if you need any body work done, paint, body, whatever you need, make sure you check out DeBerry Paint and Body. We also thank our good buddy, Mr. Andy Morrison with Never Give Up. Andy's always at the New Smyrna Speedway supporting our racers and even supporting the little ones over at the Little New Smyrna Speedway for the quarter midget racing. You can typically find Andy Friday and Saturday at the New Smyrna Speedway. He has some great items for sale, and sometimes he gives those items away. He's got all kinds of great things for his company, Never Give Up. He's got plaques, he's got hats, he's got stickers. I know a lot of the Bomber guys run the Never Give Up sticker on their car. And really, I think everybody could use that message these days. Never give up, keep doing you, and keep supporting what you love, just like Andy does. And we appreciate his support here on the Racing with Ryan podcast. We also thank Hank Baker for coming on board as a supporter here with the show. He'll be on for the next handful of episodes, and we really appreciate him. A really great guy. We miss him in the pit area this year, but if you see Hank, talk with him. He's got some great racing knowledge, and it's always a pleasure to be around. We also thank Bromley Motorsports for coming on board as a sponsor here on the Racing with Ryan podcast. Of course, you can primarily find the Bromleys running at New Smyrna Speedway. They have a couple of Bomber Bs, the 6 machines out there for Bromley Motorsports, and they have some pro trucks that they run occasionally as well. sometimes you can find them out at the dirt tracks having a little bit of fun as well. But we appreciate Bromley Motorsports for coming on board to support the show. So make sure you check them out next time you're at the New Smyrna Speedway. We also thank Jeff White Racing for coming back on board as a sponsor here on the Racing with Ryan podcast. Of course, Jeff White Racing can be found bouncing between the Auburndale Speedway and the New Smyrna Speedway. Jeffrey White, driver of the 41 E-Mod/A-Mod, has been one of the dominant forces. So if you're looking to get on board with a good racing team, make sure you check out Jeff White Racing and check them out at the Bull Ring at Auburndale and the big track over at the New Smyrna Speedway. We thank them for coming back on board and supporting the show. We appreciate everybody's support. And again, if you'd like to come on board as an anchor sponsor, you can do that. If you'd like to just be a supporter, like our friends Hank and Ken, Doug, Fast Cracker Racing, Andy, you name it, you can do that too. We charge just $5 an episode. The amount of episodes is up to you. You can do a year, you can do 10 episodes, you can do one. It all helps, and we appreciate it greatly. Thank you guys for your support, and we'll let you get back to the show. All right, welcome back to the show. Going to take a few moments here and talk about the weekend that was Sonoma for the NASCAR Cup Series. Tom, I know you do not follow the NASCAR Cup Series, but you did watch the highlight reel, and I put highlights in quotes because when I asked if you wanted to come over, you're like, is there any highlights I should watch, anything like this? I'm like, well, I'm going to send him what they call the extended highlights.
The extended highlights,
yes,
yeah.
That way you did have an idea of what we're talking about here, and we'll make the last two segments of this one short and sweet. We'll cover things and talk about it, but just not the best race at Sonoma for the Cup Series this week.
I definitely was going to ask you, like, is this what road courses are always like? Like, was this good relative to other Sonoma races?
No, it honestly, Sonoma has become one of the more tame tracks because there's a lot of runoff. So if they do get out of shape, they got all that grass they can go off. So there's not a lot of cautions because you could spin out, be out of the way, and keep going. So there was enough spins in the race to where you could have had on a normal race 6 or 7 cautions, because on the ovals when they spin out they throw the caution right away. On the road courses, there's enough time between the leaders getting there to where they kind of let you get refired up and go. So this race only had 2 cautions. One was for a tire that got away in a round of pit stops. So that's one of the big things people are talking about. One of the big changes with the road course races this year are when the stage ends, they don't throw the yellow flag anymore. For the road courses, they let the stage finish and they give the points as the people cross the line. Which I'm a fan of because I like the race to play out naturally, and it allowed this race to have a little bit of strategy. So my question to you is, if there's a tire on pit road and there's a wall on pit road where the tire's not going to go over that wall and get into the racing groove, do you feel like they should have held off on the caution, just waited for it to be clear and retrieved the tire? Or do you think the caution was warranted in that situation?
It depends on what was happening at that moment. Maybe that's hard to say. Like, how much of a danger was it actually posing for someone to go retrieve it?
I think the thing is they look at like a tire like that as a big safety issue. The minute you let somebody go on that track is when somebody, or not on the track, but out across pit road to the outer wall, is when somebody comes on pit road with an issue and they have to be on pit road and they don't know this guy is on pit road.
Way. Yeah, or a guy trying to get the a person, yeah.
It's always been, if a tire gets so far away to where it's potentially a nuisance, they will throw a caution. Even on the ovals, if the tire rolls away into the infield grass, but a car could spin and then shoot that tire as a projectile.
And like we said earlier, like if you don't enforce the rules, or if you don't have rules, or in this case don't enforce them, then stuff starts to get sloppy. So sometimes it becomes, I like in life, I am a spirit of the law person, but sometimes in organized situations, you have to go by the letter of the law because you just have to maintain that consistency. Even if it's not posing a danger, you still have to go by it because that's the rule. And how different is that from the ground pounder heat race when Scott Cutter basically got out of everybody's way?
Right, that's
but
a
we
good point.
still
That's
had
a
to
great
call the
point.
caution because he didn't make it all the way into the pits before his car gave up on
It's
him.
like I told Jeremy, if we had gone one more lap, somebody would have spun out off turn number 2 and hit him and flown into the air and destroyed Scott Cutter's car and killed somebody. Yeah, so that's a good point. I mean, let's say that NASCAR is like, okay, the tire's on pit road, nobody's on the pits. You know what, crew member, go out and get that tire. And then here comes, Bobby Jr. with a flat tire, and he comes storming down pit road and hits said crew member because he has no idea he's trying to retrieve said tire.
Or more realistically, everything goes fine at Sonoma. But 2 weeks from now, similar thing happens, and they're like, oh, well, at Sonoma it was fine, so I'm going to go now. And then it goes down.
So then here comes Bobby Jr. and plows over.
Yeah.
So I know
Poor
that
old Bobby Jr.
that kind of ruined that kind of cycle of pit stops and put everybody kind of on the same strategy. But then later in the race, there's about 15 laps to go. I think you saw this one. The 11 car hit the inside wall, then hit the outside wall.
The most excited the commentators got all night.
Yeah, they're like, oh my God, something happened.
Yeah.
And I remember, I was watching the race. My aunt was here. So I watched the race in bits and pieces because I watched the beginning. Then we went out and did something. Then I came back, watched some. Then I helped with a few
I think that's what the
things.
drivers were doing too.
Yeah, I think so because it just wasn't that action-packed. But Hamlin, the pole sitter, led the first part of the race, won the first stage. He hit the wall, crashed out. And that was the only incident for contact. Everything else was, there was a few spins, especially towards the end, but just last year's race, very lackluster too. It had a first-time winner, so that kind of erased some of that was boring because everyone's like, oh, that's so exciting to see this guy finally win. This year it was like, I feel like everybody kind of knew Martin Truex was going to win that race. He had the fastest car. Even when strategy put him behind the 8-ball, he was able to charge through the field.
And do you feel like that tire situation changed Truex's chances?
The tire situation happening when it did kind of flipped the second stage because it allowed Kyle Busch to win the second stage, and he ended up getting track position in that moment that he ended up keeping the rest of the race. So it worked out in his favor for sure. Because with the way the road courses go, it's all about when you pit, when the cautions come out. And the big problem with the stages, everybody knew when the cautions were going to come out. So by taking that away, it puts a little more guesswork into the strategy. But what you want to have happen is you want to pit and then have a caution come out immediately. Because then all the cars still on track have to pit and they're behind you because the track is so big you don't lose a lap.
Yeah, of course. I think I've seen that in a couple of the Tour Mod races.
Yeah, that kind of stuff can happen in that situation. So, and that's what won Kyle Busch the second stage. He had a good car, but he didn't have the best car in traffic. So when he was out in front, he was able to hang on to that track position and finish second after winning the week before. So he's kind of on a good path here. But Martin Truex in Toyota back on track on the road courses.
Right. Yeah, it was rigged.
Oh, yeah. I saw one video on YouTube. Toyota first, Toyota dead last. It's like, well, somebody's got to finish first and somebody's got to finish last. But yeah, it wasn't the most exciting race. This car, this new generation car on the road courses and the short tracks has not performed to the level that people want. And the reason I believe why is this car was built with road courses in mind. We have 6 of them on the schedule now. This car is more or less a sports car built for NASCAR racing, whereas the old cars were a car built for the oval tracks.
And what is the reason for that? Is it something to do with the consumer end, something about putting the brands on, I don't know, something that shows up at the car dealership with average people buying cars, or is that the road courses get more ratings on TV?
Actually, the road courses have been one of the worst rated races in the last couple of years. The reason for this new car is the guy who's in charge of NASCAR came from the sports car world. So when they went to build this new chassis, they went to build a chassis that could be suitable to race at all tracks. So they took, hey, we have this many of this kind of race, this many of this kind of race, this many of this kind of race, and this many of this kind of race. And they tried to build one chassis that would work for all. And the way it works now, the teams no longer build the cars. All the parts are from third-party supplied sources.
Right.
They order the parts and they assemble the cars like a Lego kit.
Right.
Okay? As Kyle Busch famously said, all the cars are the same. We buy them at Walmart.
Yeah.
So, because, Kyle Busch. So, given where the leadership came from and his ideology of racing, this car, well, it still looks like, you can tell the Toyota is a Toyota Camry, and well, it's a race car. It looks like a Toyota Camry. The Ford Mustang looks like a Ford Mustang.
They need it to for
right,
or
exactly,
else Ford
because
is not going to be happy.
Right, you want when a Chevrolet wins, the idea is win on Monday or win on Sunday, sell on Monday.
Yes,
so
exactly.
that ideology is still there. Now, we all know that these are purpose-built race cars. It is not a Chevy Camaro that you go buy at the dealership that you go race at the track. It is a purpose-built race car that has racing elements to it. It has things that you're not going to find on your passenger car. The idea of this new car, now, up front, the costs were a lot because it's a brand new car. Everybody's got to build a new fleet of cars. The idea is, if you wreck the back of the car, you just put a new back section on and you're good to go. If you wreck the front of the car, you put a new front section on and you're good to go. And then you can take the car that you raced at Sonoma and go race it in 2 weeks at Nashville. If it works out in the rotation.
Just like change the angle of the tires.
Right. And the things that they are allowed to do are so minimal that every car can work. And, there might be a different spoiler package for this track, but that's just you change the blade on the back of the car, you change the splitter on the front of the car, and you go race. So the idea is let's have one general car and a couple of different bolt-on packages for aerodynamics that work better at certain tracks. So right now, the car is not working very well at the two kinds of tracks where the last generation of car worked well. So now the racing that is good is the racing that for so long has sucked. So there's less of it. And now there's more of these road courses. So
is there recognition of that, do you
yes,
feel, from the top?
There is, because this year they made a big change with the package for short tracks and road courses.
Okay.
But as the teams are saying, and those involved with the teams are saying, every week they learn how to get more out of what they have. So as time goes on, they've learned more about these cars, and they've learned how to apply different things to get more downforce, to get the cars to handle better. So where last year everybody was on more of the same playing field, now the big teams, they figured out little things to get an extra tenth of a second, little things here, a little more downforce here. So the more time goes, the better the teams get with the car, the worse the racing gets. Because the better the car handles, the better the car is for the driver, the worse it is for us fans. Because what's good for the driver and what's good for them being comfortable isn't good for racing.
Yeah, that makes sense.
If that makes sense.
That does. Yep, absolutely.
Now, I'm not saying that there hasn't been races in the past that have been just completely boring just because one week somebody hits on the setup and whoops everybody's ass. That kind of thing happens. But in general, the road course racing has not been good. In general, the short track racing has not been good. But then we go to these 1.5 mile tracks and everybody's like, oh my God, that was like the greatest race we've ever seen. Mind blown. This car is great. And then we go to these tracks and it's like, this car sucks. So it's still a work in progress. I call it a failure on the short tracks and the road courses because it should be better. But then again, if you build one car and you think it's going to work at, 4 or 5 different styles of tracks, it's likely going to have flaws somewhere, and we found the flaws.
And there, of course, there's tradition involved in this that I may or may not be.
Sure.
Like I used to live in Homestead, so there's at least some level of it that I'm aware of, but a lot of it that I'm not. I used to live in Homestead, now work very close to Daytona.
Yeah, funny enough.
Think of it, but when I watched this highlight package, the weirdest thing, but possibly the most substantial thing that occurred to me was, wait a second, is the sport that this most reminds me of golf? Because everybody's playing with the same clubs. Everybody's playing with the same balls, depending on who sponsors the match. What do you call golf matches? Whatever.
Tournament.
Whatever the opens.
Yep.
but it's always different courses. And like when you go to and I don't know golf well enough to remember what, but when you go to the course that they have in I don't know, name a random place, in that place, it's different than the course that they have in another place at another resort or whatever.
Yep.
So it made me wonder, like, it's completely different pace, like opposite ends of the spectrum as far as pace, but are they really that similar?
The races that we've watched have all been on ovals together.
And I'm sure that if you're a hardcore golf fan, there's going to be, people who really love certain types of courses, but then, but now they're going to that course over in whatever, and this one's going to be boring. Should there be more consistency? Should they change the car, and or should they
the course?
And again, I know there's tradition. I'm sure this Sonoma race has a lot of tradition behind it, and a lot of people would lament losing that track. But if it's been a boring race with the direction that they want to take the NASCAR series, should a change be made?
Well, that's a good point. There are people saying, well, Sonoma should be off the schedule. It's been boring lately. Back in the day with NASCAR, since about 1990, there was 2 road courses. There was Sonoma and Watkins Glen. So Sonoma, California, Watkins Glen, New York. Those are the only 2 road courses until 2017. They turned the Charlotte Oval, because that race had become stale, into they started running the infield portion of the track and made it a roval. So you went around the outside of the racetrack, but then you cut into the infield and did a couple swoop-de-doos.
I remember
and
you telling me about that.
And it was a huge success because it was one of the craziest finishes ever. So everyone was like, this is it. This is what NASCAR needs, more road courses. So the next couple of years, they added this track, then they added this track. So now there's 6 of them. And you have a 36-race schedule, so 6 road course races. Okay, that's fair. You got 6 road courses, 6 short tracks, 6 drafting-style, Daytona-style tracks or races, because you got Daytona, Talladega, Atlanta. And then you've got a plethora of mile-and-a-halves. You've got 6 short tracks. You've got, 4 or 5 different flat tracks. So you've got a good variety. So NASCAR went and built a schedule that had good, equal variety. But now we're starting to see where a built-for-all car doesn't work on certain styles of tracks. And it's the flatter, slower tracks that don't have a lot of banking. When you have a lot of banking and the speed and the momentum is more consistent, you get a little bit better racing. Now, there are still flaws with this particular car on the other tracks, but there were flaws with the last generation that were even worse.
Right.
That people were like, this car sucks. And now people look at this thing and they're like, well, this car sucks. Even though it's good here, it sucks here. Or even when it's good, it still sucks because of this. You can nitpick anything. But this particular race and some races have just been so bad they're good, if that makes sense.
Oh, yeah.
Just a bunch of crazy bullcrap. But this one it was calm. The race played out naturally. There wasn't a bunch of crashes at the end and a bunch of restarts. So pretty much the fastest car won this race. So you can't take that away from it. It just wasn't like, as far as the highlights go, the extended highlights were only 10 minutes long. So.
When you sent me the file and I was like, 10 minutes extended? Huh?
Yeah.
And then I got to the end of the file and I was like, that felt like 30 minutes.
Yeah. I mean, if Denny Hamlin hadn't wrecked out, there'd be no wreck at all. So Denny Hamlin gets the win. Kyle Busch comes home second. Joe Logano third. Chris Buescher, great run for him in fourth. One of his best runs of the season. Then Chase Elliott fifth. AJ Allmendinger. The problem with fourth, fifth, and sixth, all those guys need to win to make the playoffs, and they did not. Same could be said for seventh place Michael McDowell. Kyle Larson, always hanging around. He was in eighth. Ninth was Christopher Bell. Ross Chastain with a top 10. He's been quiet lately. And we'll talk about the power rankings here in a little bit, because power rankings is going to get mixed up a little bit, because some drivers that I thought would run well in this race did not, and others that I didn't really think would run well in this race did. It's too bad that the race wasn't good with this car at Sonoma for the second year in a row. I think it's time to maybe cut the road courses down to 5 a year. I would say 5. I don't want to cut it any lower than that because I like the variety.
Yeah.
And maybe just keep working on the package.
I can at least vouch for the variety.
Yeah. Which, back in the day, it was like you had 4 short tracks, you had 2 road courses, and then everything else was on the 1.5-mile tracks. And it just became like the same thing week in and week out.
It's just novel to see them drifting. Yeah, drifting. You said drafting, and
drafting.
No, like drifting around the rumble strips, and then
that's cool.
One car
that's cool. When they get up
it
in the
and goes
air.
into the grass, and you're like, "Ooh, that guy didn't quite hit it." Yeah, okay, so there's at least that.
Now that's what's fun about the road courses is they don't always hit it perfectly every time.
Yeah.
So and that's the appeal. But with this car, like back in the day when you got out of shape, you paid for it. But now with the extra gear in the car, you just shift down, you grab a different gear, and you go. You can recover so much quicker.
Yeah, and even me not knowing anything about cars, I can see them doing that around the sharp turns in particular, and I'm just like, oh, okay, this is different from the NASCAR I'm used to watching.
Right, because back in the day, the cars were not built at all for road courses. So they were driving these big, heavy things and wrestling them. Now they're more built for this kind of thing.
It's like when the Big Show qualifies for a Money in the Bank ladder match, and you're like, how's he even going to climb the ladder?
He can't climb a ladder because I'm half his size and I can't climb a ladder. So, yeah. So kind of a disappointing way to end the NASCAR on Fox season, but it's another race in the NASCAR books, and Martin Truex gets his second one of the year. Did not win it all last year. So glad to see a driver that I've always been a fan of having a pretty good season. So I did score the race, as I normally do. So let me pull that up here and let you know how I scored this thing. I gave the racing, I'm going to let you guess. What do you think I gave the racing on a scale of 10?
I was sitting here actively thinking, like, is he going to have me do the guessing game?
Do the guessing thing. I do that to Kenny all the time,
all right,
too.
So this is the excitement factor?
Racing.
The racing.
Racing on a scale of 1 to 10.
Oh, with how intuitively you think about this stuff. A 4.3.
2. I gave it a 2.
Oh,
I do whole numbers on the on the score. And then the average, I let that play out naturally. Excitement on a scale of 1 to 10. What do you think I gave it?
I mean, if you gave the racing a 2, oh my goodness, is the excitement going to be a 1?
Nah, it's a little bit higher.
Oh, all right. A 4?
A 4. Yeah. Okay. But why did I give it a 4? I liked watching Denny Hamlin crash.
Okay.
It's like you said, I like watching the cars like when they go over the rumble strips and they kind of bounce up in the air, and just it's a more exciting, boring race than just an oval where they keep going left and nothing happens. Yeah. The finish I gave a 2 because Martin Truex had the race won. I mean, it wasn't even close at the end.
Yeah.
Lead changes, because I used a metric for that, it scored an 8. I think it had 10 lead changes. Let me double check that. Lead changes, yes. 10 lead changes on the road course scale is an 8. And then enjoyment, right down the middle. I went 5.
Yeah.
Martin Truex won. I'm a fan of him. Like I said, I score these, with some passion involved.
Sure.
And I'm a Martin Truex Jr. fan. If, Denny Hamlin or Kyle Larson or Kyle Busch had won, enjoyment probably have won. But I like Martin Truex, so I enjoyed watching him win. So overall, this race scores a 4.2. Definitely one of the lower ones. But
one of the lower ones.
I look back last year, and when Suarez won last year, very exciting for him to get his first win. Mexican-born driver gets his first win in NASCAR. Very cool. Good for the diversity of the sport. I think I scored this race about a 5, maybe a 5.5 last year. So I feel like this race was better than last year. More happened, but it was still just kind of blah. So not the best race. And that brings our overall season average down to a 6.71. So a solid D+.
Yeah.
So this season has had its moments after the excitement of last year with the new car. I think what made last year so exciting is everybody had the same stuff. Nobody could build their own stuff. Everybody was figuring it out at the same rate. Now we're starting to see where the big teams that have the money, the engineering, they're able to figure it out bit by bit, more and more. So the big teams are reigning supreme once again. Gibbs, Hendrick, Penske always seem to win. Not as many surprises as last year. Some races have been really good, and then others have been really bad. So I think a 6.7 is a pretty fair score for what we've seen this year. And we got a week off, no NASCAR at all, no Xfinity, no trucks, no Cup Series. They get their one and only off week, and then it is 20 straight races from the next week on to the end of the year.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they get
all right.
NASCAR gets one off week.
When are the playoffs?
So we are 16 races in. Playoffs are it's a 26 race regular season and a 10 race playoff.
And 4 through 6 at this rate, at this race, already are out of the race. Did I understand what you said there correctly?
Nobody is out. So there have been, because I know you don't follow this, there have been 10 different winners this year. If you win a race and you're a full-time points scoring competitor, you are eligible for the playoffs.
Oh.
So if you win a race, you're in the playoffs. There's 16 spots to fill.
Okay.
The only way you wouldn't be in the playoffs if you win a race is if there's 17 winners and you're the lowest in points. So the way it works is the 10 winners are locked into the playoffs, and then we fill in the other remaining spots by who's up in the points. So the drivers that I mentioned, AJ Allmendinger, Michael McDowell, Chase Elliott, they are not in a points position that would get them in the playoffs right now. So they would have to win a race to leapfrog their way into the playoffs.
Okay, and you're explaining that to me. Hopefully this is helpful information for some listeners out there.
Yeah. And the reason I can talk about this is we have 10 winners. We have 10 races to go. There's 6 spots left. Now,
Gotcha.
I don't think last year we had a bunch of new winners. We had different winners, and it was like, oh my God, we're going to have more winners than there are spots for, and somebody's going to miss the playoffs. We ended up at the regular season with 16 different winners. One driver unfortunately got hurt that had won a race and has not raced since. A career-ending injury for Kurt Busch. So that at Daytona, the last race of the season, it came down to 2 drivers. There was then 14 winners and 2 spots open. Ryan Blaney and Martin Truex had not won a race, but they had enough points to be in. But then in that last race of the regular season, a driver who had not won at Daytona. So that gave us 15 qualified winners and only 1 spot for the points. So the driver last year that had the 4th most points in the regular season did not make the playoffs.
Man, you NASCAR fans really love math.
Yeah. And numbers and stats and wins. So last year was unprecedented. This year, okay, we've got 10 winners. We've got 10 races to go. So yeah, theoretically you could have 10 different winners, sure. Yeah. But in all likelihood, you might get, there's 2 or 3 drivers that I look at that haven't won yet that I really think will win. But we have to wait and see. So that's part of the intrigue of the NASCAR season to me, is this playoff format. A lot of people don't like it because it's way against tradition. It used to be most points out of 36 races won. Now it's, well, you got to make the playoffs, and then you got to survive this round, and then you got to survive this round, and you got to make it to the Final Four, and you got to be the best of the Final Four. It's convoluted, sure, but I love that a guy who just crashed out 2 weeks ago and got a concussion could still make the playoffs because he could win a race.
I like that in theory.
Yeah.
And what came first, the playoffs or the stages?
They came at the same. Well, the playoffs came first. They used to have what they called the chase. Mm-hmm. And then they brought in the playoffs around 2017 to break up. The racing kind of became monotonous, and they added the stages to make those parts of the race where they go yellow and have a built-in caution for television and break it up. I love the stages. I love paying the points out at a certain race. Like, you've got something at the first third of the race to race for. You've got something at the second third of the race to race for. And then you've got the actual race win to race for.
Yeah. It's almost like a sponsored, like, at the 33rd lap, whoever's in third place is going to get an extra $100 from Sorry Charlie's.
As I've seen the racing go, I just don't think the caution is needed. Just like they do at the road courses now. At lap 60, score the points and keep racing. Mm-hmm. Don't throw a caution. Just score the points. Okay, you finished 10th. You came across line 10th. Keep going.
And year to year, they figure out what works in the balance between the actual sport of the sport and how much money they're making off of the commercials that they get to show.
And the whole idea, the stage is, well, now you'll see more green flag racing. We don't. We see the same amount of green flag racing. Now they just know when the cautions are going to fly, so they can plan the commercials around it. And we still see just as much racing.
This whole time, that my big frame of reference with anything sporting
Wrestling.
is wrestling.
Yeah.
Which, yes, some people are going to cringe at my using the word sporting in that, but
Entertainment.
Yeah,
Sports entertainment.
and this whole time I've been trying to make the comparison. I guess I threw in the Big Show thing, but nothing has really correlated. I was even when we were talking about tradition and events that have kind of fallen out of favor, I was thinking about making a Survivor Series comparison because that's WWE's oldest branded
That's kind
pay-per-view
of how the
event.
playoffs work.
But,
it's like a
yeah.
10-week Survivor Series.
Yeah,
They cut out the back half of the field every
these
3
days,
races.
like, you don't even get the Survivor Series matches anymore. And when you really look at it, only the first 2 Survivor Series events had them because pay-per-view format was different then.
Yeah.
The way the business worked was different then. But what I'm getting at is that
Everything
this was
evolves.
the first time where I was like, oh, there actually is a correlation here because nowadays in the era when they take commercial breaks during the matches, there's always a spot where somebody gets thrown out of the ring and commentary goes, oh my gosh, can Ricochet get back in it against Bronson Reed? And that's when you know they're going to commercial.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then the referee like signals to them, hey, we're on break. And they've been trained how to count out the minutes and everything. So then they'll go into rest holds. Like Bronson Reed will just have like a headlock on Ricochet for 2 minutes.
A nerve pinch.
And then and hey, if anybody's ever listened to my wrestling podcast, they know that I am not I'm not an
Davey Boy
advocate.
Smith chin lock.
Wow, that's a throwback.
I've been watching a lot of what's that guy's wrestling channel? He does the
You like
reliving the war.
WrestleMania.
Who's the guy that does reliving the war? Hang on.
Reliving the war.
Yes. He recap every week. He releases the Monday Night Wars. He recaps both Raw and Nitro and scores them.
You're not talking about Russo, are you?
No.
Okay. But while you're looking that up, if anybody's ever listened to my wrestling podcasts,
Wrestling Bios. Wrestling Bios
Wrestling
is
Bios.
the best wrestling channel on YouTube.
Okay, that's not one that's crossed my path, so I'll have to
check it
peek
out.
at that.
It's good.
But yeah, I am an advocate of the bear hug and the nerve pinch, and I hate the modern wrestling where everybody's got to do triple flips and do dangerous crap. I am always advocating for whatever. I don't need to go off on that tangent. But there's definitely the point in WWE television episodes where the referee says, okay, we're in commercial. So then they do less for 2 minutes.
The thing that's nice about wrestling is their matches are more or less scripted out by the minute. And I think those listening to this podcast know the moves hurt. It's real, but it's also, it's a scripted thing. So they can script, okay, we're at commercial. Do the rest holds, do this. The thing about NASCAR is they go to commercial and you're missing X amount
still
of
gotta be
actual
racing
action.
hard.
And 9 times out of 10, they go to commercial and something major happens and we've missed it. And it's frustrating because there's a lot of commercials. It's a live sporting event.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like football where they score a touchdown and they have 5 minutes between possessions just naturally so they can do natural commercials and you don't miss anything.
That's one of the reasons why football is the American sport.
Yeah.
And
same with baseball. The innings built in. There's time in between. You don't miss live action.
Of course, this is just me, the idiot savant, trying to figure out NASCAR in a segment that's supposed to be about a specific NASCAR race. But does that go back to when it started to get televised in the 60s? Would they show the full race and just the sponsorship deals would pay for all of it?
It makes me want to go back and watch the 79 500 again and see where the commercials were put in because that's a good question.
So curious about, because I remember this is such a weird, maybe esoteric point of reference, but I remember watching old game shows and Groucho. Groucho Marx.
They're cut up so differently now because the commercials back in the day were one at 15 and one at the end.
They would do that, and then in this specific case that I'm thinking of, and maybe they weren't all like this, but this is just one that I'm familiar with. Groucho Marx infamously hosted You Bet Your Life, but he didn't call it You Bet Your Life. You knew it was You Bet Your Life, but he would say, "Welcome to Plymouth Dealers," because Plymouth Dealers was the sponsor of the show, and when they would do a commercial, it was Groucho talking about Plymouth Dealers, or an animated Groucho in a Plymouth car, and you wouldn't feel like you weren't watching the show anymore. It felt like it was still part of it. So, I wonder.
I mean, I know the TV landscape has changed because when I was
Yeah.
a kid, I would watch an episode of Rugrats or something, and you would get a 12-minute or so episode of Rugrats, and then like a
Yes.
3-minute commercial, and then another 12-minute episode of Rugrats to fill that half-an-hour time slot.
And that still exists, but like only in children's programming.
Right, but now in children's programming, you get like 7.5 minutes because I've been watching a lot of Bluey lately. With
Yeah,
Peyton.
Adventure Time is the one that's always on in our household, and that's an 11
and now
minute
it's,
episode.
It's 11 minutes, or I'll get like a 7.5 minute episode of Bluey, a commercial, a 7.5 minute episode, a commercial, and then like a bunch of bullshit at the end. Like Mickey Mouse comes on and sings a song, and it's like, what is this? What, like, it? Cable TV, you pay. What I've learned about cable TV, and we'll go to the third segment here.
Yeah.
You pay your service provider all this money to be able to get the service, and then all these commercials are paying the channel all this money to do their commercials. So you're
Yeah.
paying all this money
And then
just
there's
to
the
get
local market on top of it.
right, which those local channels, like even on an event that wants to go commercial free, if you're on like an over the air channel, they have to have X amount of local programming commercials. That's like law or whatever. It's crazy. Everything's commercials.
I'll tell you, the only reason I have cable anymore is because Spectrum has convinced me that including cable in my package gets me discounts on my mobile and my
you
internet
bundled.
that
Congratulations.
outweigh the expense of the cable. So every time I think I need to cancel this because all I watch is Monday Night Raw and I could get SmackDown over the air on Fox,
Yeah.
I tell myself, wait, no, oh, and NXT. I'm like, which is the
when you,
primary brand that I cover on my podcast, so I should remember
need
it.
that, yeah.
But I'm like, well, I talk myself right back out of it because they tell me that the price would be different. But I'm also not the one on the other side of the counter, looking at the.
Well, when you do decide to cancel and you just want to get a streaming service, YouTube TV
yeah.
is what I use. And I remember I had a login from a friend who was like, oh, he was over here a lot. Just like, oh, just use my login. And then he stopped paying for his, so we lost it. And I'm like, all right, I'll pay for the 1 month of $14.99, the free, the first trial month. And then I'm just like, this is too good. I have to have this, especially with a kid. Like, I've got to have TV that I don't have to worry about finding them something to watch every 5 minutes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I don't know. For a while, I was anti-TV. I was over the air, or I'll stream it illegally. I don't care. But now I'm in a better place. I can afford it. But YouTube TV is where it's at. And hopefully they sponsor this podcast after all this good talk about them.
There we go.
We're going to take our last commercial break here. We'll come back on the other side. Quickly, we'll give you updated power rankings. We'll go around the state and fantasy stuff, and then we'll let you go. Hey, everyone. We want to take a few moments here to thank some of our great sponsors here at the Racin' with Ryan podcast, including our good friends over at Schultz Engineered Products and Schultz Racing Fuel Cells. If you're in the market for a new racing fuel cell for your vehicle, make sure you check out Schultz Fuel Cells. They're designed and manufactured in the United States to be safer, longer lasting, and they will outperform all other fuel cells that you can get your hands on. Also, they specialize in their fuel recovery systems. You can save on your fuel expenses, significant maintenance reductions, along with a safer working environment, better for the actual environment, the outside environment, and it'll eliminate your fuel disposal fees. Those are just some of the products that Schultz Engineered Products focuses on, and you can check them out on the web at schultzproducts.com. You give them a call at 732-922-4334, or for email inquiries, you can reach out to them at info@schultzproducts.com. That's info@schultzproducts.com, SCHULTZ, Schultz Engineered Products. We welcome them as one of our anchor sponsors here on the Racin' with Ryan podcast. Make sure you check out their website, schultzproducts.com, for everything that they offer. And hey, if you're racing and you want to stay safe, get one of their fuel cells installed on your race car. You will not regret it. We also thank SRQ Taxes in Sarasota, Florida. We know tax season has come and gone, but guess what? It's never too early to get a head start on next year or to start thinking about next year. And hey, if you have any issues with your taxes, or you're looking to get a hold of somebody that can help out your business, check out srqtaxes.com. Click on their services portal, and you can see everything that they offer from accounting software selection, audits, compliance, bookkeeping, business consulting. They do estate and trusts. They do financial analysis, statements, IRS representation in case you have any issues. They even have a notary public on hand for all of those documents that you might need notarized. And of course, tax preparation and planning. So make sure you check out srqtaxes.com, located in Sarasota, Florida, or you can get with Steve Darling at the Auburndale Speedway. He'll be happy to help you out. SRQ Taxes coming on board as another one of our anchor sponsors here on the Racin with Ryan podcast. We also thank 124 Welding and Fabrication. That's our good buddy Ron D'Alessandro. Had a great run in the 602 class a couple of weeks ago, and we really appreciate him being on board. Of course, just like it says, welding and fabrication. That's what he specializes in. If you need anything welded up, get with Ron. If you need something fabbed, get with Ron as well. He will help you out. You can also check out his Etsy store because he makes all kinds of great metalworking, which make great decorations. We have the Racing with Ryan podcast logo and emblem here in the studio. Looking at it as we record right now, it makes it'll complement any room, anything you're looking for. He can do custom stuff, but you can also check him out on Etsy. If you go to Etsy.com and search 124 Welding and Fab, it'll come right up. You can check out the great products he has available, or you can reach out, contact him for anything specific. Again, that's 124 Welding and Fab. Check them out on Etsy. We also have a couple of supporters that we would like to thank. Of course, we have our anchor sponsors, and then we have those that just support the show. And we got to thank Ken Copley. Of course, he is our eMod sponsor, but we want to thank him for his support here as well. And Doug Samian from Do All Lawn and Tree. That's his company, but he appreciates the show and appreciates what we do, so we appreciate him. So thank you to all of our great anchor sponsors and our supporters here with the Racing with Ryan podcast. Now, we'll let you get back to the show. All right, welcome back to the show. Real quick, final segment here. I know when a lot of people, if you're listening to this and you've gotten this far, you just want to get through it. So I am right there with you. Quick update on the power rankings. I have both NASCAR and Florida power rankings for you. Where should I start, Tom? Where would you like me to start? NASCAR or Florida
Let's
power
start
rankings?
with NASCAR.
Okay, let's get that out of the way. Falling out of the power rankings this week, Daniel Suarez. I put him in a week ago because I thought he was going to do really well. Missed a shift on the first lap and never became a factor in the race. So Alex Bowman moves into 15th. Missed a couple races due to back injury and is still in the playoffs via points. So he moves up to 15th. Ricky Stenhouse remains 14th. Ross Chastain drops a spot down to 13th. He continues to struggle after his Darlington crash, where he crashed out competing for the win. It has not been the same. Tyler Reddick, the man I picked to win the race on the hot mic, has dropped 3 spots to 12th after a poor finish due to a flat tire. So he's 12th. 11th, Chris Buescher. He moves up 2 spots after a great top 5 run. Chris Buescher, a sneaky playoff contender right now. Could be one to watch to get that win and lock himself in. Bubba Wallace has had a lot of speed lately, but drops 2 spots after a poor performance at the road course. He's now 10th. Kevin Harvick also drops 2 spots to 9th. Christopher Bell moves up 3 spots with a solid performance on the road course and finishes in 8th. Joey Logano, a quiet 3rd-place run, moves him from 10th to 7th. A lot of movement in the NASCAR power rankings this week, as I said earlier. Ryan Blaney remains in 6th. A couple of late race spins relegated him to a really, really poor finish, but was running so well until he got dumped twice in the final few laps, so I left him 6th. Denny Hamlin down 1 spot after crashing out of the race. William Byron drops 2 spots. He was an afterthought. Didn't run well, didn't lead laps, so he drops 2 spots to 4th. Kyle Larson drops 2 spots as well from 1st to 3rd, but it's only because the drivers in front of him did so well this week. Kyle Busch moves from 5th to 2nd with a 2nd-place run, and Martin Truex moves up to 1st from 3rd after winning the race. Again, NASCAR is off this week before moving to Nashville. So I took the race from Nashville last year and kind of factored into the power rankings a little bit as far as some of the bigger movements. I think this is a pretty fair list. I know Tom doesn't follow the NASCAR circuit very closely, but I don't think he would object to this either.
very, very closely. Yeah.
Yes.
I follow it when Ryan sends me the highlight links to watch.
I'm every week now. I'm like, here, watch this. So you might follow this a little more closely. This is our Florida Power Rankings. And Dustin Higdon drops out of the top 12 this week because his car was there, but he did not participate in the heat race.
That was interesting to me. Was it because he was going to be dropping to the back of the feature anyway? I mean, heats are worth points.
No, I saw on his Facebook that he wasn't even going to be there, period, and then the car showed up.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot about that.
I don't know what that was all about, and of course, with Kenny kind of being MIA right now, I haven't gotten the story.
Fair enough.
So he drops out this week. Blake Clauser remains 12th. A good run in his heat race. If we had run features, he might have moved up. Jason Lester moves up to 11th with the modified race coming up this weekend. I feel like we got to talk about him and think about him as one of the contenders for this weekend's race.
Fingers crossed.
Sean Bass going to move down one spot to 10th.
Just because it's been a long time since the last Mod Mini race?
I just feel like, it's been so long and another driver moved up ahead of him that wasn't ranked before. Steve Gill, sportsman driver in the SRL series, having a great year. He moves down to 9th. Tim Sozio in the sportsman, also the late model. He is in 8th. Michael Goddard drops one spot to 7th. Just kind of a so-so run, but I just feel like give him track position again. He'll be good.
Yeah.
So with the big win in the late model race this weekend, Brad May goes from not ranked. Brad May has been so hard to rank this year because he's either been like winning or not finishing, or just kind of an afterthought. So he moves up to 6th after the win. I thought with that big field of cars, there was 8, 9, 10 drivers that could have won that race, and he did. So he moves up from not ranked to 6th. Do you think that's fair?
I think so, just because you're absolutely correct about the situation, how difficult it is to rank him, but also he proved yet again that when presented with a surprising situation out of nowhere, he still knows in the moment exactly how to handle it.
Yes, and that was the most impressive thing to me. It's like you could tell when he backed off that he was saving his shit to cool it down to go for the kill. And that's what he did, and it was amazing to watch him execute it.
Yeah.
So that puts Brandon Morris still in 5th, TJ DeCare still in 4th. TJ was out of town this week running I believe it was a Car Stores race.
Yeah.
And he did quite well. Daniel Webster drops from 2nd to 3rd. He was decent, but not great this week. I think he would have done better if he was in the blue and yellow car.
Is it fair to say he's still figuring out the new car? Obviously, the new car is good.
Yeah.
But is he still just learning his way around it?
I think that's fair, but I think if he was in the blue and yellow car, he would have been maybe top 3.
Yeah.
So I moved George Gorham up from 3rd to 2nd. I had moved him up into the top 3 because he kept winning every week because he was over at like Showtime or Citrus where they had 6 or 7 cars. When he came over to New Smyrna and finished 2nd after not being there for 2.5 years, whatever it's been, 3 years.
And like you said, the track will smack you in the face.
It will. That is such a humbling proving ground. And he proved that it's no fluke.
Yep.
That car is fast. So I moved George up to 2nd.
There were a couple moments where it looked like he was being aggressive, but when you really look at the footage, he drove everybody clean as a whistle.
I mean, he was aggressive, but you almost have to be in a late model to pass anymore, especially early. You have to, while the field is sorting out, there's no give. It's only take.
Yeah.
He didn't spin Daniel. He touched him. He got him wiggling, but he didn't wreck him.
No, I was very.
It was aggressive for lap 1. It was aggressive, sure, but George
I've been very impressed
racer.
with Gorham in 2023.
So I've got him 2nd, and I still have Cody Stickler 1st. Even though I didn't race this week, I mean,
yeah,
I haven't been able to move him.
Yeah,
I would love to see him in the modified this week, but I don't know if there's a mod mayhem race or if there's a late model race that they'll Showtime or Auburndale's off for a while. I don't know.
That's right.
Maybe we do see Cody. I'll reach out to him. Maybe we can get Cody Stickler and Jason Lester there this week, and we'll have a hell of a race.
At Family Fun Night, we'll do a Power Wheels race for the adults, and he'll win that.
He would, too.
Yep.
That's the thing. He'd win a damn tire race. He'd win a weightlifting competition. That's for damn sure. I wouldn't want to make him mad. So that's why I leave him number 1.
Yeah.
I think congratulations is in order. He's not on my power rankings, but I believe Timmy Moore won the Modified at Mayhem's race this weekend.
Hey, all right.
Or at least he placed in the top 3. So we'll give him a shout out there. So that's my power rankings for this week. I do want to take a quick moment and look around the state. I know I don't have much analysis on this, But I do want to give credit where credit is due to the tracks that did run this weekend. Give some top performances out there. I know Showtime was in action. They actually were in action Wednesday and ran some races. And is that all they did? Wednesday, June 14th. Let's take a look at that. No, that is upcoming. They're running this Wednesday as well. They ran Wednesday the 7th. Now I'm caught up. I'm just gonna give the winners for this because it's kind of a drag racing / hey, come check out our asphalt track deal. Steve Paulton was the winner of the mini stock race where they had 12 cars show up. Not bad for a Wednesday. And then Dennis Wilson won the Ford Oval A division out of a field of 22 basically Bomber Bs on a Wednesday.
Yeah, it's a
at
popular
Showtime.
class right now.
It is, especially on the little bull rings. So
yeah. Even I'm sitting here saying like, ooh, if I ever got in a car, it would be a Bomber B.
I would love to drive a Bomber B. I'll probably drive one of Frank's cars for a practice session just to say I did it.
let me put a GoPro in it.
By all means. So looking at Showtime's Saturday results, this is what I was looking for here. They ran super late models. They had a field of 6. So, yeah. New Smart is not doing it.
I mean, yeah, enough said, right?
I'm not trying to compare.
No,
but I'm
not
also,
at all.
And
I've been trying to get out to Showtime all year. It just hasn't lined up. So I'm certainly not in.
Yeah, it's been a few years since I've been there myself, and I'd like to get back. I want to get out there into Citrus at least once this year so I can give them some love on the podcast here.
Yeah.
Matt does a great job announcing over there.
Yeah, I agree.
Brad Bowman, the winner in the house car, Robert Yoho's 00. Bowman gets the win over Robert Jonas. Brighton Horner was out there. He finished 3rd. John Anderson in 4th. 5th for Hayden Mowry and 6th for Kip McVeigh. So, I mean, that's been their crop of cars this year. So, even though we were running, honestly, we didn't take away from them. They didn't take away from us. So, it's all good. All good. They ran a heat race as well. Brighton Horner won that. Street stocks, 9 of them. And Kyle Courtney once again got the win over Mark Nelson. Thomas Meyer was 3rd. Mike Weddick in 4th and 5th for Rick Haw. Heat race winner was Rick Haw. They ran Ford figure 8s. And Cody Williams got the win over Robert Stoffel. Justin Meyer, Mike Weddick, and Shane Grigsby, the top 5. Super mini late models, which are mod minis.
Right.
They just they got a fancy name for him over there. Garrett Larson got the win over Ronnie Larson, Jay Zolciak, Dean Buttram, and Jeff Firestone. 9 cars started the race. And Jeff Firestone, I love it when I see DQs in the heat race. That means some shenanigans. Jeff Firestone won the heat race over there. Heat race number 1. Logan Buttram and Austin Ramsey were DQ'd. Ronnie Larson won heat number 2. So definitely some shenanigans. They had the asphalt small block modifieds, which are their E-mods basically, or A-mods. Jamie Castleberry was the winner over Brian Scalise. Mike Meadows was 3rd. There's some new names for me. Doug Miller, Tom Zimmerman, the top 5 in a field of 9. Heat race win went to Brian Scalise, however you say that. So that is the results from Showtime.
Yeah, apart from the small blocks, seems like the same. And for all we know, it was a great night of racing. We didn't watch it, but it sounds like the same crop of names that we typically hear from them, right?
Yeah, and they've been having solid showings. I mean, they have their solid group of racers. And, you know, I know a lot of people are very judgmental on New Smyrna's car counts. But as I've been doing this around the state segment, I've realized, you know, there are some nights where we're way off.
Yeah.
There are some nights where it's like when we went to Auburndale, like, we're not far off from what they have on a weekly basis.
Right.
And, you know, it might be plus or minus 2 or 3 cars, but every track right now is doing their damnedest to get just that next car to the track.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and it's just, you know, it takes fans maybe giving somebody a second chance. As we were talking just now, I got a response to that Detroit comment that I mentioned earlier, where somebody responded to them saying, yeah, the reason I don't go anymore is because last year they were only getting like 5 to 6 late models.
Right. And now we're, you know, triple that.
Yeah.
And, you know, there's going to be good nights and bad nights. There really are.
There always are.
Yep. So looking at Auburndale Speedway now, they had the pure stocks in action. Good field of 18. James Wright with the DNS, though. That's big news. James Wright's been winning a lot over there. The win went to, and I know they were hampered by rain as well, but Cody Struble got the win in the first feature of 25 laps over Bobby Mobley. Ronnie Roop with a solid third-place run. Jacob McCordale was 4th, 5th for Mike Smith. Josh Cole was 6th, 7th for Rebecca Cattarelli. Brandon Love was 8th. Ricky Bullard Jr. was 9th and 10th for Dale Tillery.
We've observed Wright's dominance previously, just between you and I. That is very interesting. I wonder if he changed something or if they caught something.
Yeah, I'll be interested to hear what Steve has to say about that on the hot mic, if you want to go back and listen to that after you listen to this. The A-Mods were in action, so they were competing against... everybody had an E-Mod / A-Mod division this week, and they had 8 cars, so the split is equal. Roger Blevins got the win over James Seawright, which is interesting to see him in the 04 car. Dylan Martin was 3rd. Cody Durham 4th. Jacob Wallace, Jimmy Pope, Ronnie Abney, and Carl Jones rounding out the field there.
Jeffrey White went out of state, didn't he?
Yeah, he took the prolate to Georgia, I believe it was.
Yeah. He said he liked it.
Had a good time. That's cool to see. I'm glad to see them really...
Oh, yeah.
They've branched out. They support everything.
Yeah.
So
in the context of New Smyrna, I said what I said last week, when we were talking about the E-Mod division, like, oh, man, it's a bummer just regarding how I view New Smyrna's E-Mod division that Jeffrey White isn't a consistent part of it anymore.
Sure.
But I love seeing what he's up to with his various
And there's
vehicles.
nothing wrong with traveling and racing here, racing there. Just go race. Go have fun. The sprint cars, the wing sprint cars were in action. That was the only other feature that was complete at the Auburndale Speedway this week.
So that was a holdover from last week then?
Yes, they did reschedule to this weekend.
Okay.
Try to get it in before the break. 12 cars. So 12 of these things at Auburndale.
Yeah, yeah.
12 of these at New Smyrna. You know what? I think the last one that we had at New Smyrna was 9 cars.
I think it was less than
so
that, yeah.
We'll take 12. I mean, these things are... You think sprint cars, you think dirt. So it's tough on asphalt. But Stephen Hollinger got the win. You know who that is, right?
I
know
don't.
Rex,
That's not...
the Bone Man, Rex Hollinger?
Okay.
That's his son.
Okay.
So he got himself a win in the sprint car series
good
over
for him.
Daniel Miller, who used to run prolates at New Smyrna,
yeah.
the Blue 00. And Larry Brazil Jr. was 3rd, 4th for Colton Bettis, and 5th for Dude Teat. I know you recognize Dude. Then we had Mickey Kempkins in 6th, Sport Allen, Gary Wiggins, Ryan Edema, Bruce Brantley, Bo Hartley 11th, and then the man that everybody said was going to win the race by a lap, Davey Hamilton Jr., rounding out the field.
See, I recognize Mickey in sport.
Yeah.
Because there were some fireworks at New Smyrna that I haven't... I mean,
Last time
that
we raced,
was one of my favorite
when the wheels
videos I've
coming
ever...
off.
Yeah.
Is that the wheel that comes off that ends like the
Yeah.
Speedway video? Yeah.
And like
Okay.
I don't think it's that one. Or maybe it's the same race. The Kempkins Sport Allen race where like they got into it afterwards. I've continually gone back to that one like, ooh, what's like the YouTube jargon is resurfacing. Like what's an old video that I can resurface? Like I can recut it and make it new again. And I always think of that one and then I realize, oh wait, I've already resurfaced to that one because it's always the first one I think of. But Dude Teat is not a name that I recognize.
He's always been out there. It's Teate.
Okay.
It's not,
Yeah.
but yeah, the way you said it made me think a different way.
Yep.
So I'm logging into the fantasy app here, and I'm not going to give my fantasy picks for Nashville until next week because I need some shit to talk about next week. But I do want to talk about our Racing with Ryan podcast fantasy league, see how everybody fared at Sonoma.
As you're pulling it up, I'm guessing Citrus also ran, but we just don't have time to talk about 20 different features.
I think they were off. Now you've got me saying, one other track did run I'll talk about in a moment. But let me check on Citrus. I feel like they were off this week.
Here, I can pull them up if you're...
Citrus County Speedway, Speed Hive. Yeah, last race said it was Bring the Carnage. So I think they're in action. I think they did the Carnage, a week off, and then they're back. I think they have modifieds this week too. So,
Well,
it is what it is. I forgot Thunder Road was in action. Thank you for mentioning other tracks. I do want to talk about that before we sign off, just because I have so many people that have told me they watch Thunder Road because of this podcast now.
That's
that
so
I want to
awesome.
talk about it. Hunter Young with the win this week in our fantasy league. Won by 6 points. John Gross was second. Stephen Collins third. Timmy Walters was fourth. Fifth for King Penguin. Richie Petty Jr. Oh, God, I did so bad this week.
I was going to say, you haven't
Staffordshire
said
Motorsports.
you yet.
RKS Racing in eighth. Me and Steve tied for eighth this week. So,
Okay. Is Steve still leading overall?
I think John's winning. 8-Ball Racing was 10th. Here's the so that was our results from Sonoma. And let's go look at the overall here.
Well, good for Hunter.
Yeah, good run. Yeah, he's doing all right.
Hasn't been able to make it out on the actual track yet, but
I think he'll be back. Oh, we got a really close race
He's
at the
working on
top. John Gross, bomber number 93, is leading with 2,980 points. In second is Bob Fords. That is Bob Say with 2,889 points. In third, myself with 2,873. Steve Darling, fourth, 2,853. So me and Steve are close. Staffordshire Motorsports in fifth, 2,789. Then it's Richie Petty Jr., Big Timpin, Pit Penguin, Hunter Young, and Cushy Penguin, the top 10. And I'll give you my top 5 picks for Nashville next week, as we do have a week off on the NASCAR schedule. Thunder Road was in action. And Tom, I have a video that I want you to watch from Thunder Road.
Okay.
One that I recorded from my television.
I'll
I was
live
watching-
react to it as you're reading the results.
Yeah. Okay. Let's get to it. Yeah, that's the picture of it. Nope, not that.
I've run out of things to fill the dead air with.
Watch watch that video.
All right.
Just go ahead and play it. I'll get your live reaction of the big one
And
that they had at Thunder Road.
these are right into the. You don't want to hit. Oh, well, that's weird. That was. And he's going upside down. That was weird. I'm gonna rewind that.
Yeah, isn't that a weird crash?
He hit the spot that you don't want to hit, and got sent backward, and his ass ran into another car who was trying to avoid it. Oh, that poor guy. Oh, wow.
That was bad, wasn't it?
That was a weird wreck. Wow. Okay.
It's funny. My father works the back gate. My father is the Leroy of Thunder Road. So every now and then he'll send me pictures or videos or things going on. So I did not get to watch live on Thursday. It was a Friday night race because I had quarter midget. So I came home and I watched the heat races Friday night to unwind after a long night at quarter midgets. And I watched the features on Saturday. But my dad had sent me a message. And I saw real quick, it was a video of Thunder Road. So I'm like, oh, I saw Thunder Road. Didn't correlate what the cars were. Didn't know what it was. But I was literally to the street stock race there. And I was like, I wonder if that is the video my dad sent me. And sure enough, he sent me the video of that same crash that I recorded from my TV that you just saw. The street stocks, which are their 4-cylinder class.
Okay.
It's
like what Skinny was talking about last week.
Yeah. Most street stocks you think of are the Monte Carlos, the Camaros.
Right.
But their street stocks are the 4 cylinders. And then they have the Warriors, which are like our
name
bombers.
Makes sense.
I mean, it does, yeah. It's just not when you think street stocks. It's not what you think. It's not what your mind goes to. But it has been a division that has had like 20 to 30 cars ever since I've started going there, paying attention to it.
Yeah.
And they put that poor 24 car on his lid. What happened there? Coming to the restart, the 24 and 54, 24 Ramos, 54 Lovely. They touched coming to the line. And Lovely cut a tire. So the car on the inside cut a tire. The 24 launched over his tire and went straight into that tire barrier, that poorly constructed wall that they've built there.
They've thrown a tarp over it to make it look better.
Right. And it's just, the problem is with that entry and exit there's no other way they could do if they were going to put a wall, there had to be an opening there. And it's a bad spot to go off the track. The 24 hit the edge of the tire barriers, bounces into the air, and the 30 car just completely ass-packed him. Yeah. And, like, it looks like he's going to flip over one way,
right?
And then he gets hit, and he flips over the other way.
The car that he ended up backing into was trying to avoid something
he,
else that was like
a
symptom of the initial situation.
It was a wild one. But they did have a good night of racing over there. They had the first leg of the Myers Containers Triple Crown Flying Tiger Series.
Say that 3 times fast.
I can't right now, Tom. They had 30 cars show up. These are a hybrid. Think of our Sportsman.
Yeah.
602 motors and super stock, pure stock looking cars.
Okay.
So now these cars don't have the Outlaw wedge bodies like the Sportsman do, but they have the same thing under the hood. But they look more like a street stock or newer style Monte Carlo. And they had 30 of them show up for this race. And Joel Hodgson, a gentleman who used to drive street stocks when I was going to this racetrack, he won the race over Kevin Streeter and Derek Calkins. But 30 cars for a 75-lap race in the street on a quarter mile.
I mean, just looking at you
cars.
Scrolling down this list here on your computer, I was thinking, I genuinely was sitting here thinking, did they not divide the drivers by division? Is that just everybody who raced at that track that night?
That's just one of 4.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. 30 cars started the race. That's awesome. They did have a special appearance by the New England Super Modified Series, which is a crazy combination of open wheel modified and sprint car. It's a very crazy looking vehicle. It doesn't look like anything you've ever seen before. They only had 10. It's a touring series up there. Second year they've had them there. But listen to the names and stop me when you recognize one. So Dan Bowles won the race. I've never heard of him. Second was John McKennedy.
Okay.
There's a driver you've heard of.
Yeah, all right. I can hear it in Ben Dodge's voice.
Matt Swanson was third. Anthony Nocella was fourth.
All right.
So a couple of tour mod
guys.
New
England.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
A couple of tour mod guys.
I'm hearing all of this in Ben Dodge's voice.
The rest of them, they're not tour mod guys, so I'll take the wind out of your sails. Russ Wood, Vernon Romanowski, Ben Seitz, Dave Duggan, Rob Summers, and Mike Mayberry made out the field. But a couple of tour mod guys running the super modified. So it's kind of cool.
By the grace of God.
And 600 horsepower.
The rocket sleds.
Their late models ran the standard distance 50 miles, 50 laps. 20 late models for a weekly, just normal distance, not a big deal show. And Daryl Moran picked up his second career win over Cody Blake and Tyler Cahoon. Very good race, a lot of back and forth. The governor of Vermont, Phil Scott, was in the field. He led the first 25, 30 laps before fading to 6th. The governor of the goddamn state races cars.
That's cool, because one of the guys who gets sent out as a representative for our governor for the Governor's Cup used to be a driver, but he ain't doing that no more.
Mr. Posey?
But, yeah. I get a kick out of the fact that Ron DeSantis got sent out as the representative for Rick Scott. Oh, yeah. He got sent out, and I was like, who's this guy? Yeah. And now he's the big political star in the country.
Yeah.
And he sends other people out to represent him because he ain't got the time.
Right.
But, how...
I remember being on the track, having to talk to Ron DeSantis. I'm like, here's this Ron DeSantis to tell you some bullshit.
You're like, how
and
do
at
I
the time, I
pronounce
was
this?
really
Ron
not political
DeSantis? And he's like, no, it's Ron DeSantis. And now he says Ron DeSantis. That's in the news now. He's got to
throw him off a little bit because he's taking some hits.
I don't know. That's a whole other conversation. He's clearly a rising political star.
That's for our political podcast, which we record
in an objective sense. And it'll be very interesting to see where the chips fall. He looked at a template that a political anomaly set for him that Rick Scott also followed, and he is finding success in it that is interesting to watch. And regardless of political stance, I will say that much.
Makes a good drama, I guess.
Then that's part of it.
What is politics anymore but a drama?
But a reality show.
Yeah, it is a reality show. It does affect us. That's a good point.
You know that we don't have to keep on going down this rabbit hole, but you know that I was not a Trump supporter. But how much did what he do really, like all the stuff that I was all angry about, how much of it really affected my daily life? Not all that much. And now that he's been out of office for so long, and like I'm a CNN viewer, and then and I'm a Stephen Colbert viewer, and then you get people like CNN going like, "Oh, well, we're gonna get him on this," and I'm like, "What?" I don't know. I to Jamie all the time at home, I sound like somebody who loves Trump because I'm constantly watching these networks that are going after him and talking to her about like how it's not fair the way that they're going after him. I don't know. Like here I am going down the rabbit hole after 4 beers.
We're in the current state that we're in. But anywho.
Yeah, no, it's
politics is a mess.
The extremes on both sides are the issue, and I feel like most of us find ourselves in the middle looking at, you know, again, not somebody who is a Trump supporter, but I look at the people who are on TV and the loudest people on social media that are anti-Trump, and I'm like, you're crazy. Just take a step back and look at what you're actually saying.
It's the crazy people that get all the airtime these days, and that's what has been swinging America.
And that's what the algorithm favors.
That's it.
But what I really wanted to ask about, after
back on track,
after I've driven away all of the listeners,
governor of Vermont is a race car driver.
Yeah, is this a common field for them? Because I have such a weird, like, of course, Central Florida is my purview, primarily New Smyrna Speedway and Auburndale Speedway, but just through hashtagging certain things and following certain people trying to get the Speedway video brand out there, there are other little glimpses that I followed, and like the main other track that I follow, and granted I wouldn't be able to tell you the name of a single driver that's out there, but just like week to week what divisions they're doing, what they're promoting, is that one little that one NASCAR home track that's out in Alaska. Their manager actually visited during Speed Weeks and didn't come to New Smyrna, and I was like, come on, come to the other NASCAR home track. What are you doing?
Right.
Like if I had found out that she was there, I would have wanted to go up and be like, oh, hey, I follow all your stuff on Instagram. But
25 to 30 Tigers for this place is normal. 20 to 24 late models is normal.
Wow.
25 to 30 street stocks is normal. So these are the normal weekly, and I say weekly car counts, like Thursday night, Friday night. They run primarily on Thursday night. So I'll say Thursday night car counts are between, on a bad night, it's 16 late models. On a good night, it's 24.
And how many other tracks do they have around them that they're competing with? Do you have an idea?
The ACT late models, the style of car that they run for late models, they run at a handful of different tracks, but Thunder Road runs on Thursday, and their sister track, White Mountain, runs on Saturday, and they get about 20. And it's like you get 5 or 6 that go to both tracks, and then a handful of others that just run the one track.
It has to be similar to Speed World New Smyrna back in the day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think the thing that they have going on, their season is so short. It's, end of May through September.
By necessity.
Right, because then it starts to snow, and it's too
Which, of
cold,
course, that Alaska track that I'm talking about, they're always posting pictures of like, well, look at all these snowbanks.
Right. So, they have the blessing of being the only track that runs consistently weekly on Thursday. They run a Friday night race here and there when school is still happening to allow those, to allow the kids to not have to be up late to go to school.
Yeah.
But they traditionally run on Thursday night. They run big events at the end and beginning of the year on the weekends, and everything else is Thursday night, and they'll get 20, 30 cars a division. So to look at the rest of the classes here before I let y'all go, they have the street stocks where Tommy Thunder, got the win. His 36th career street stock win. They keep good records over there. And why do I know this? Because they know how many wins somebody has every time they win. Dean Switzer, the point leader from last year, was second. Jesse LeCaire, James Dopp, Kyle Gravel, the top 5. This was the race where Tom live reacted to the flip. They had 30 cars show up. 28 started the main event in the 4-cylinder class.
My goodness.
Yep. And then they ran the Road Warriors, which are more or less our Bomber A type cars. The street stocks, And the Road Warriors, they kind of look the same. The street stocks get to run racing tires and racing rims, whereas the Road Warriors run street tires and our bone stock, kind of like our Bomber A's.
Yeah.
They had 15. Yeah, they had 15 show up and a couple of crashes in the heat race. I posted on the Bomber A page one of the cars that crashed at Thunder Road. He hit the back wall with a rear end and broke. Actually, he hit the wall. He tried to drive away, and then the rear end broke, and the tire was pointing the opposite direction. Yeah. And I found a picture of it where the rear wheel is pointed the wrong way, and he's driving to the pits. And I said, they captured a picture of him still on the track with the broken rear end. And I said, Bomber A's, here's the secret setup to not breaking out of 24 seconds. And I posted that. A couple people got a kick out of it.
Yeah, you got to take that in good humor.
Exactly. So they had a good turnout for and like their Warrior division is like the ground pounders. They don't pay them. They're just like, come run with your 4-cylinder crap car for fun.
Right.
I don't know, maybe they pay the winner or the top 3 or something, but it's the same idea. It's like, here's the beginner entry level, come run your junk car for 20 laps and have fun. It's the fun class.
Cheeseburger.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and they had 16 or 15 or 16 show up. They had a bunch of issues in the heat race. Only 11 started the feature. And Taylor Sayers got the win over Neil Foster and Tyler Wheelie. So Thunder Road, if you have flow racing, which I still have flow racing privileges from previous engagements, so I do get to watch, and I recommend that you all watch too on what will be Thursday nights. The SRX series, the All-Star series, is coming there. Big deal. They've done some upgrades. They built a brand new like towering tower. Like beautiful 2-story scoring tower at Thunder Road. They put walls up all around the Speedway, repaved it, new lighting. Place is amazing. It is the best. You can tell the people that own it, Chris Machad, Pat Malone, own it because they're race fans and they love racing. Do they make money? Probably not off Thunder Road. They have other ventures that they make their money, and then they put that into Thunder Road for the love of racing. And that's what you have to have. And thankfully, we have owners in New Smyrna that love racing and love their racetrack for the history. But man, to run a top tier racetrack, you've just got to know that some nights you might lose some money.
Yeah, and Robert has proven that again and again.
Yeah,
and I've heard the stories about 2 cars showing up one night for Clyde, and Clyde's like, "No, we're running them," and he still would sit there and watch. And Robert has done the same thing.
Well, that's the thing, because I know a lot of people have said what they have to say about New Smyrna, and sometimes it's true. But at the same time, you can look at some of these other tracks, and you can look back at their history, different owners. The same people have owned and managed New Smyrna, and whether you think that's a good thing or not, the same people have poured their heart and soul into running the racetrack every weekend and trying to give you a place to race. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not. But I'm thankful that we do have a place to race and call our home. For Speedway Video, for myself, for the podcast here. I know some nights are better than others, and some nights are frustrating. But damn, I don't know where I'd be if it wasn't for New Smyrna. So I'm thankful. I could look at Thunder Road up in Vermont and think, well, if I never moved, maybe I'd be there. Probably not. Probably wouldn't have an opportunity there. Their announcer when I was up there was Dave Moody. He was now one of the top radio announcers for NASCAR. And I don't know if you remember, a couple of years ago, I announced with Troy Germain.
Yeah.
He took over for Dave Moody at Thunder Road. And just through social media, I followed him. He followed me. So you reached out. He was in town. He wanted to announce. He did. One and done situation. And now they have Aaron Maynard, who's really great. So, I can sit here and glorify Thunder Road with their great car counts and their small season that they get. But also I can sit here and be thankful for what I have.
Absolutely.
And thanks for coming.
Yeah, it was a good time. We always make something of it. It feels like it was... As most of the podcasts I'm involved with go, it feels like it went a little bit longer than we estimated, but I think it was I enjoyed the conversation anyway, and I think both of us are starting to feel the third and fourth beers starting to creep in.
Oh yeah.
So
Well, we always crack open a couple of beers because we like to have a good time, like to let the alcohol flow, and watch Thunder Road on flow.
yeah.
Come out to New Smyrna this weekend. Free Father's Day weekend. Watch the modifieds and everything else. Have a good time. We'll be back next week with a full recap of what we get. And yeah, thank you all for listening. And Tom, thanks for coming in. Appreciate it. And hope to have, hopefully Skinny's back in the mix. But if not, then the show will go on.
We'll see what happens. Check it out on Speedway Video. You know where.
There it is. Like and subscribe. And we'll talk to you next week. Bye.